Chapter 9:15. When the outside world was changing, the inner world was also changing greatly. Since the birth of heaven and earth, powerhouses from the 10,000 races fought to be born. The first to become an immortal was the Emperor of Eldar. Jianmu's name was completely spread. It was also because of Jianmu's immortal ascension that opened the path to becoming a true immortal for the living beings of the inner world. Then, Foam created the human race and became the second true immortal of the inner world. If the appearance of the spirit race was a blessing from the heavens, then the birth of the human race had opened a whole new door for the other living beings. It turned out that the blood essence of a powerhouse could directly give birth to a race of living beings. Therefore, not long after the appearance of the human race, other races were born one after another. One powerhouse after another crossed the boundary between heaven and man and became an unparalleled true immortal. 1,000 years ago, the 10,000 races were developing steadily. As strong as Eldar and the human race, they were still in the beginning stage. Even though the emperors of the two races were the first to become immortals, they could not really sweep through the world. 1,000 years later, the 10,000 races gradually became prosperous and began to fight for territory. There was some friction between them. Even so, they had no way to start a large-scale war. After 10,000 years of the birth of heaven and earth, the 10,000 races had completely developed to a peak. The friction between the various races increased day by day and finally reached the point where it completely exploded. Until now, the 10,000 races almost had a small war every 3 days and a big war every 5 days. Many living beings had died in battle. In fact, even the powerhouses at the true immortal level had already shown signs of ending up. In the end, the 10,000 races can't coexist peacefully. Unless there's a powerhouse who can suppress the 10,000 races, only then can the war between the 10,000 races disappear. Walking in the inner world, Qin Shujian felt the killing in the world and sighed in his heart. From the 5,000th year of his seclusion, he had used his incarnation to walk in the inner world. In the end, he was also the creator of the inner world, which was equivalent to the ruler of the world. It was also a wonderful thing for his incarnation to travel around the world and watch the evolution of the world. In the past 5,000 years, Qin Shujian had traveled through more than half of the world. He didn't reveal even the slightest bit of his cultivation. He was just like an ordinary person as he silently walked through the world. He climbed mountains and crossed rivers as if he was looking at the world with a smile on his face. However, as the ruler of heaven and earth, Qin Shujian could also clearly feel that there was a murderous energy gathering between heaven and earth. It was the aura of the Great Tribulation. Once the heaven and earth's killing intent had gathered to a certain extent, it would directly descend. At that time, the murderous aura of heaven and earth descended upon him. All the cultivators of the myriad races would be drawn into the calamity. Regarding this, although Qin Shujian understood this, he had no intention of interfering. In his opinion, when a calamity befell the world, it was the process of the operation of the world. The conflict between the 10,000 races was also the general trend of the world. Even if he forcibly stopped it now, there would be a day when it would erupt in the future. Instead of waiting for it to erupt in the future, it would be better to let the myriad races have a good fight now. It wasn't just the inner world. Even at the beginning of every era in the universe, there would be a war between the 10,000 races. Roar. There was a tiger's roar in the forest, followed by a strong wind. Qin Shujian stood on the spot and said softly, "Freeze." As soon as he finished speaking, the strong wind disappeared. A black tiger was forcefully imprisoned on the spot, unable to move at all. Only its big bell-like eyes were still wide open, and one could clearly see the fear in them. "Do you think I should give you a chance, or let you pay the price you deserve?" Qin Shujian looked at the black tiger in front of him with a faint smile on his face. His words were calm, but when the black tiger heard it, it couldn't help but feel a chill in its heart. The black tiger didn't expect this. It was just hungry and came out to have a meal, but it encountered such a powerful existence. After all, It was a cultivator of the god martial arts realm, but in front of the other party, it didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Such an expert was at least a celestial being. Moreover, to be able to imprison it with just a word, it was definitely not an ordinary celestial being. After thinking for a while, Qin Shu Jian suddenly shook his head. I suddenly don't want to kill today, so I'll give you a chance. After that, he walked to the black tiger's side and sat on it directly. Then, he took out the Emperor of Heaven fan that he hadn't used for a long time and knocked the black tiger's head lightly. Let's go. Carry me to another place to have a look.
Suddenly,
The black tiger found that its imprisoned body suddenly returned to normal, but it didn't dare to do anything. It could only follow the instructions and obediently walk forward. About half a day later, the black tiger couldn't help but ask, "May I ask how to address Senior? This junior didn't mean to offend you before. I hope you don't take offense." "My name?" Qin Shujin thought for a while and said with a smile, "You can call me Emperor of Heaven." "Do you have a name?" Emperor of Heaven. The black tiger muttered these two words carefully, as if it felt a little different, but he couldn't tell what was different. After a pause, he then replied, "I named myself Black Tiger." "Well, it's quite appropriate." Qin Shujin nodded. The name Black Tiger and the color of the other party's race were 100% compatible. It's said that the great Tao is simple. Your name is very good. May I ask, Senior Emperor of Heaven, where are you going? Wherever I go, be at ease and be my mount. There will be plenty of benefits for you. Qin Shujian sat peacefully on the black tiger's back, replying intermittently. Hearing that, the black tiger was slightly delighted. Although Qin Shujian just said it verbally, in his opinion, such a senior expert either didn't say it, or once he said it, there was a high probability that it would count. What benefits? The black tiger wasn't sure. But with the other party's identity, the benefits would definitely not be too low. After a simple exchange with Qin Shujian, he found that the other party was not so difficult to communicate with, and the reverence for the senior expert in his heart suddenly eased a lot. After a long silence, the black tiger was the first to speak again. "Senior Emperor of Heaven, what realm are you in?" After that, he was afraid that Qin Shujian would misunderstand, so he hurriedly explained, "Senior, don't think too much. I don't mean anything else. It's just that my realm is low, so I want to look up to Senior's cultivation. If Senior doesn't want to say it, then just pretend that I never asked." For some people, cultivation was not important, but for others, it was a secret that couldn't be said. When the words came out of his mouth, the black tiger felt a little remorseful for his rashness. The fluctuations in his heart naturally couldn't escape Qin Shujian's perception. But he didn't get angry. He just sat on the black tiger's back and said slowly, "What realm do you think I will be in?" Chapter 9:16. What realm? Black Tiger thought for a moment and asked tentatively, "Senior, are you at the Saint Realm?" He did not dare to say too high. If Qin Shujian had not reached that realm, it would be insulting. If the other party was angry and slapped him to death, it would not be worth it. Hearing this, Qin Shujian shook his head. "Saint? It can be higher." Senior is a mighty figure. Black Tiger understood. As expected, although a Saint Realm Master was powerful, it was impossible for them to freeze him with just a few words. Only an almighty master would be able to do such a thing. Now, the myriad races were at their peak. However, mighty figures who could reach the 7th level of the celestial being realm and above were existences that could not be ignored. One had to know. A mighty figure was the strongest realm below the true immortal realm. As for the true immortal realm, in every race, they were supreme existences. In some weak races, only the emperor of the race was a true immortal, and races without true immortals naturally did not exist. Even if they existed in the past, they were all wiped out now. The remaining races of the myriad races. In each race, the weakest had a true immortal realm overseeing them. A powerful race was not as simple as having 1 or 2 true immortals overseeing them. Hearing this, Qin Shujian smiled. A little higher than a mighty figure. Black Tiger stopped in his tracks, his entire body trembling slightly. As Senior, could it be that you're a true immortal realm expert? True immortal. He had actually encountered a true immortal. Although Qin Shujian did not reply, he already had a trace of certainty in his heart. I guess so. Qin Shujian gave an ambiguous answer. True immortal? He was not sure if he had already stepped out of the realm of true immortals. Normally speaking, half-step Dao fruit should have crossed the true immortal realm, but it had not officially entered the Dao fruit realm. It could be considered an awkward position in the middle. His Senior Emperor of Heaven is actually a true immortal realm expert. Could it be that he is a true immortal of the human race? Black Tiger took a deep breath. Qin Shujian was indifferent. The words of the human race are not wrong. He received confirmation. After Black Tiger recovered from his shock, he was overjoyed. The person he was carrying on his back was actually a true immortal of the human race. One must know that the human race was now a famous race in the world with countless experts. In comparison, on the contrary, the strength of the tiger people he was in was much weaker. It would be a great thing for the tiger people if they could establish a relationship with the human race because of this. Even if he couldn't get in touch with them, he was very familiar with human true immortals, and as long as they could give him some benefits through the gaps between their fingers, it would be enough for him to enjoy endless benefits. I've heard that the current human emperor is the human ancestor who created the human race in the past. He's one of the few middle three true immortals in the world today. May I know what your relationship is with the current human emperor? After understanding Qin Shujian's background, Black Tiger's curiosity was ignited. Qin Shujian shook his head. I don't have a close relationship with the current human emperor. We've met a few times. I see. Black Tiger nodded, but he was non-committal. As everyone knew, the human emperor was the first human race and the only human race to be born. All the subsequent human races were created by the human emperor. Senior Emperor of Heaven said that he didn't have a close relationship with the human emperor. Obviously, he was lying to him. He just thought about it. He didn't really say it out loud. After all, if he accidentally angered such a senior expert who had reached the true immortal realm, it would be a fatal disaster. For a moment, the man and the tiger didn't speak. Black Tiger didn't know where Qin Shujian was going. He could only walk forward silently. As long as the other party didn't speak, he would keep walking. It hadn't been long since the world was created, and the innate spirit qi hadn't dissipated. Any living creature that was born would have a strong physique. Other things aside. For example, the physique of God martial arts realm cultivators in the inner world was much stronger than that of ordinary God martial arts realm cultivators in the universe. It was also because of this. Even though Black Tiger was carrying a person on his back, he still didn't feel tired from climbing mountains and wading through rivers. Soon, half a month passed. Black Tiger didn't use his cultivation to hurry along the way. He just walked forward step by step. It wasn't that he didn't want to. It was that every time he wanted to fly, he would be stopped by Qin Shujian. There was no other way. The situation was better than him. Black Tiger had no choice but to accept his fate. Of course, after half a month of getting along, he didn't gain anything. At least, he occasionally gained something from talking with Qin Shujian. In addition, Black Tiger also found that, ever since Qin Shujian came, the surrounding spirit qi of heaven and earth seemed to be attracted by something and gathered crazily towards him. In half a month, even if he couldn't calm down to cultivate, he found that his cultivation was steadily improving. Such a discovery. Naturally, Black Tiger was ecstatic. In the era where the conflicts between the 10,000 clans were rising, the stronger one was, the more capital one had to survive. Although the God martial arts realm didn't seem weak, in fact, he could only show his power in some remote mountains and forests. In the 10,000 clans, the God martial arts realm was no different from cannon fodder. Senior, there seems to be a war between two clans in front. Shall we go around? Black Tiger stopped in front of a hill. He hadn't stopped for a long time. In his perception, there was an astonishing killing force gathering in front of him. The smell of blood drifted with the wind. Before Black Tiger said anything, Qin Shujian also noticed the abnormality in front of him. As the other party said, there were indeed 2 clans fighting in front of him. He took a look. He shook his head. Forget it. There's no need to get involved. Let's change our direction. Yes. Black Tiger nodded, jumped down the hill, and walked in another direction. But not long after, he was surrounded by wolves. Each wolf was more than 10 feet tall. Their sharp teeth had a cold light, and a fierce aura gathered. Black Tiger's face changed instantly. Moon Wolf Clan. The Moon Wolf Clan was about the same strength as the Tiger people. But the problem was, there were a lot of Moon Wolf Clan members in front of him. At a rough glance, there were 23 of them. He was the only Tiger people. If they really fought, he would definitely die in the mouths of the wolves. He panicked for a short while. Black Tiger quickly reacted, and his originally panicked state of mind regained its calm. After all, he wasn't just a lone tiger right now. There was a human true immortal sitting on his back. Senior, what should we do now? Black Tiger didn't retreat when he saw the Moon Wolf Clan closing in. Instead, he asked calmly. How troublesome. Qin Shujian sighed. He opened the Emperor of Heaven fan in his hand and fanned it in front of him. Rumble. In an instant, a strong wind blew, as if it was tearing the sky and the earth apart. The Moon Wolf Clan members who were close to him didn't even have time to react. They were all swallowed up by the strong wind. Then, the strong wind dissipated. There was no longer a living Moon Wolf Clan member around. Chapter 9:17. Black Tiger fell into a daze. He had never seen a perfected immortal attack. This was the first time he had seen it. With a simple fan, all the Moon Wolf Clan members were reduced to ashes. Such means. Black Tiger could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. Qin Shujian put away the Emperor of Heaven fan, knocked on the tiger's head, and said calmly, Let's go, stop watching. Black Tiger did not dare to say anything, and hurriedly walked forward. Just as the man and the tiger left, a huge moon wolf appeared in the air. Its cold eyes looked at Qin Shujian's back as he left. Its eyes were filled with fear. When did such a powerhouse appear in the human race? He had already noticed when Qin Shujian was surrounded. However, what he did not expect was the other party's strength was so powerful that he could kill all the Moon Wolf Clan members with a simple wave of his fan. That kind of power. Even as the Emperor of the Moon Wolf Clan, he felt his heart palpitate. The Moon Wolf Emperor could not figure out when such a powerful being had appeared in the human race. Even though he was also a true immortal, he could still sense an aura that was as deep as the abyss from Qin Shujian. One had to know, he had seen the current human emperor of the human race before. Although that power was terrifying, it was much weaker than the person in front of him. So, the Moon Wolf Emperor's first reaction was to mistakenly think that Qin Shujian was a human powerhouse. However, his second reaction was to refute this guess. The human race, it was impossible for there to be such a powerhouse. The world is vast. Ordinary perfected immortals are nothing. The Moon Wolf Emperor suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. He thought that after breaking through to the perfected immortal realm, he would be one of the few powerhouses in the world. Apart from the emperors of the large clans, no one could pose a threat to him. But now he had taken it for granted. Not to mention anything else, just that person alone was not confident that the Moon Wolf Emperor could survive. Moreover, since the first mysterious powerhouse had appeared, there might be a second or third hidden terrifying powerhouse in the world. If that was the case, then the top powerhouses on the surface would just be a joke. At least you know your place. Qin Shujian smiled faintly. Naturally, the Moon Wolf Emperor could not hide from his senses. However, since the Moon Wolf Emperor did not make a move, he would not make a move either. No matter what, his inner world had been created by himself. The living beings born from heaven and earth also had some relationship with him. Qin Shujian wouldn't kill anyone for no reason if they didn't provoke him. But if they provoked him, then there was nothing to say. Just like the Moon Wolf Clan, they could be exterminated with a wave of his hand. To travel the world. This was not something that could be accomplished overnight. With the black tiger carrying him, Qin Shujian didn't need to waste his energy walking. This was because Black Tiger was not a weak cultivator to begin with. Coupled with his innately strong physique, it only took him a few hundred years to reach the end of the world despite the vastness of the world. Senior, this is the end of the world. Black Tiger stopped. In front of him was a field of chaos. The grayish color seemed to contain some kind of great terror. There was a small snake-like gas moving about, but it didn't enter the world at all. Towards the end of the world. This was the first time Black Tiger had seen it. After all, it was not easy for a god martial arts realm cultivator to cross the world. If he didn't pay attention, there was a chance that he would die midway. Qin Shujian got off the tiger's back and looked at the gray chaos in front of him. His expression was as calm as ever. His inner world existed in his body. But it didn't mean that his inner world was directly connected to his flesh and blood. In fact, there was still a layer of chaos outside his inner world, just like there was an endless void outside the greater Kiliacosm. Only by breaking through the barrier of chaos could one truly break through the restraints of heaven and earth. However, without Qin Shujian's permission, no one would be able to break through the restraints of chaos, unless an existence at the Tao fruit level was born in his inner world. But now that the world was not perfect and was only a medium-class world, cultivators at the Tao fruit level were not allowed to exist at all. It was not a Tao fruit. It was not easy for even a perfected immortal to break through. This was because the upper limit of heaven and earth determined the upper limit of a cultivator. The upper limit of a medium-class world was the middle three perfected immortals. Unless a cultivator from the medium-class world could take a step forward to the greater Kiliacosm, then the cultivators of heaven and earth could break through to the upper three perfected immortals. Just like the greater Kiliacosm. The upper limit of the greater Kiliacosm was the half-step Tao fruit level. Once one broke through to the Tao fruit level, one would be considered to have broken through the restraints of heaven and earth and advanced to another level. But whether it was the inner world or the greater Kiliacosm, it was definitely not an easy thing to break through that layer of limits. There have been more than hundreds of millions of living beings born in the greater Kiliacosm in this era, but no Tao fruit has been born. It's not that easy for an expert to break through the limits of heaven and earth to appear in the inner world. Qin Shujian thought to himself and then laughed. If a perfected immortal could break through the limits and break through to the upper three perfected immortals, then it would be a good thing for him. In that case, the strength of his inner world would increase a lot. If you carry me for 300 years, I'll give you an opportunity. Qin Shujian turned to look at Black Tiger and pointed a finger at its head. In an instant, Black Tiger fell into a daze. After a long time, when he came back to his senses, he found that Qin Shujian had disappeared. Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. Recalling the memories in his mind, Black Tiger deeply felt the power of the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture. It was completely different from the cultivation method of the tiger people that he cultivated. Gradually, he stood there in a daze again. After an unknown period of time, a lightning tribulation descended between heaven and earth. At this time, Black Tiger withdrew from his state of enlightenment and looked up at the sky. There were already tribulation clouds there, and purple lightning fell from the sky into his eyes. Rumble. The lightning fell quickly and dissipated quickly as well. When the tribulation clouds dispersed, a powerful aura spread out from Black Tiger's body. I'm at the first level of the celestial being realm. He took a deep breath. A smile appeared on Black Tiger's face. When he was caught by Qin Shujian, he was only at the second level of the divine martial realm. After carrying him for 300 years, the spirit chi of heaven and earth automatically cleansed him, and he had unknowingly grown to the peak of the divine martial realm. Now that he was comprehending the Purple Heaven Divine Thunder Scripture, he naturally used the power of the lightning tribulation to enter the celestial being realm. The joy of breaking through lasted for a while, then slowly dissipated. Black Tiger looked at the empty space in front of him and the chaos not far away and could not help but feel regret. It's a pity that I can't always be by your side, Senior. Otherwise, I can definitely grow faster. 300 years. If he cultivated diligently, he would at most reach the middle or late stage of the divine martial realm. It was just wishful thinking to break through to the celestial being realm. Chapter 918. After leaving the end of heaven and earth, Qin Shu Jian headed to other places in the inner world. Imparting the purple heaven divine thunder scripture to Black Tiger was just a spur of the moment. A few hundred years. Black Tiger was willing to carry him without complaint, so it could be considered a little contribution. Of course. The real reason for imparting the cultivation technique was because Qin Shu Jian was on a spur of the moment. At his level, whether it was a cultivation technique or not, it didn't matter anymore. On the contrary, what was really important was the comprehension of the laws and the Tao path one was taking. That kind of comprehension. It was not something that could be brought about by cultivation techniques. It was about nature. There are only 3 ways for cultivators to break through to the Tao fruit realm. The first is to use the power of the laws to nurture the body. After nurturing the body to the extreme, it will naturally break through to a mysterious realm. The second way is to take a single Tao path. Mastering one Tao will lead to mastery of all Taos. By mastering one Tao law to the extreme, one will naturally be able to advance. The third way is to comprehend the myriad Tao laws and finally combine them into one to become a Tao fruit realm existence. Among the 3 methods, the latter is the most difficult because comprehending the myriad Tao laws is the most difficult. Once one attains the Tao, their strength will also be the strongest. Unfortunately, since ancient times, no powerhouse has been able to break through to the Tao fruit realm with the myriad Tao laws. Walking on the ground, Qin Shu Jian recalled everything about the Tao fruit realm. The first method was to give him the method of the third era, which was the current so-called physical sanctification. The second method was the original method of this era. The second method is to take one Tao law to the extreme and eventually evolve it into the myriad Tao. It matches the legendary Tao fruit realm of the myriad Tao laws. Perhaps the Tao fruit realm of this era is the legendary Tao fruit realm of the myriad Tao laws. However, it is extraordinarily difficult to reach the point of evolving one Tao into myriad Tao. Therefore, strictly speaking, in the eyes of other cultivators, there are only 2 ways to attain the Tao. The first is the physical sanctification, the second is the myriad Tao laws. There's no such thing as a third Tao path. But I'm different. I'm taking the path of evolving heaven and earth. Evolving into the greater world is considered the third path. Qin Shu Jian smiled slightly. That was the path he was taking now. Before breaking through to the Tao fruit realm, it was called evolving heaven and earth. When he broke through to the Tao fruit realm, it should be called evolving into the greater world. The more Qin Shu Jian traveled in his inner world, the deeper his understanding of it became. He realized every time his inner world grew, he would gain a deeper understanding of the various rules. Although the laws of his inner world hadn't grown strong enough, there was no way for his comprehension of a particular law to reach a certain level. However, as long as his inner world continued to develop, Qin Shu Jian was certain that his comprehension of all the laws would reach a peak one day. When that time comes, this was the true Tao fruit level. All of a sudden, Qin Shu Jian took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. In a gray and misty space, countless bright colors intertwined and finally formed a round ball. Qin Shu Jian's sudden appearance didn't cause any fluctuations in the gray space. The core of the world. He was not surprised by his current position. He had been to the core of his inner world many times. The colorful ball in front of him was, in fact, a manifestation of the laws of heaven and earth. The laws of heaven and earth are nurtured by the mother stream of laws. All the laws are reflected in the mother stream, but who knows that the source of all the laws exists in the core of the world, and not in the mother stream of laws. Qin Shu Jian walked in front of the round ball, and suddenly, there was a surge of law power. The source of the laws. It existed in the core of the world. That was why so many powerhouses intercepted the laws and even self-destructed them, but they didn't make the laws disappear. The reason was, it was because those powerhouses who self-destructed the laws didn't really damage the source of the laws. As long as the source of the laws at the core of the world didn't disappear, the laws would exist forever. He sat down cross-legged. Qin Shujian's divine thought covered the source of the laws. In an instant, there was an extremely surging law power emerging. That feeling made him feel as if he was bathing in warm sunlight, and a comfortable pleasure spread throughout his body. What a fascinating power! Qin Shujian had a satisfied smile on his face. Then he calmed his mind and began to digest the comprehension of the source of the laws. The inner world was equivalent to a hotbed for cultivating laws. Usually, when the inner world grew, he would grow as well. However, the breakthrough from a true immortal to a Tao fruit was not only about the growth of physical strength, but also about the comprehension of laws. The growth of the inner world can strengthen my physical body and give me strength comparable to a half-step Tao fruit. However, if I want to really cross over to the Tao fruit level, I still need to comprehend 10,000 laws on my own. The nourishment of the laws of the inner world is equivalent to a table of cooked food. As long as I eat it and eat it until I'm full, I'll have a chance to break through. Qin Shujian concentrated and silently comprehended the power of the laws. By eat, he didn't mean to swallow the source of the laws. Instead, he used the state of comprehension to let himself master the various laws. Until now, the laws derived from the inner world had far exceeded the number in the past. 10,000 years. Many things could happen. For a newly born inner world, 10,000 years was enough for it to be perfected. He just covered it with his divine thought. Qin Shujian clearly knew how many laws there were in the inner world. 36,753 laws. No, it should be 36,754 laws now. Qin Shujian shook his head. Just a moment ago, another new rule was born. It could be said that every once in a while a new law would be born in the inner world. Moreover, the interval between the birth of a new law was getting faster and faster. In the beginning, it would take a few years for a new law to be born. Later on, a new law would be born in less than 2 years. Then a year, half a year, or even a month, to be honest. Qin Shujian himself didn't know how many laws there could be in the inner world. The so-called 10,000 laws was just a general name. In fact, there were far more than 10,000 laws in the inner world. Even though he was a Tao fruit expert in the third era, he had no way of knowing the limit of the number of laws in the inner world. I'm now constantly comprehending the power of the laws of the inner world and deepening the connection between the inner world and me. When it's completely compatible, I'll be able to achieve the natural derivation of the laws of the inner world. Then, I'll be able to control the laws immediately. When that time comes, I'll become a true Tao fruit cultivator. Although Qin Shujian hadn't really tried to transform into the greater world, he already had some premonitions as he was in the core of the inner world. He would break through to the Tao fruit realm himself. It wouldn't be so troublesome. Chapter 919. 20,000 years. 30,000 years. 50,000 years. 80,000 years. In the future, Qin Shujian stayed in the core of heaven and earth peacefully, comprehending the power of laws all the time. He was the Lord of heaven and earth. Therefore, the difficulty of comprehending the laws of heaven and earth was many times lower than that of ordinary people. In the beginning, Qin Shujian couldn't keep up with the growth of the laws of his inner world. But later on, he could grow and grow at the same time. In the outside world, various Taoist rhymes also appeared on Qin Shujian's body. A terrifying pressure emanated from him, causing the time matrix to tremble violently. Zhou Tian's star map, which was the eye of the formation, was fully activating its power at this moment, desperately suppressing the time formation so that it wouldn't collapse. Is the Emperor of Heaven going to break through again? Zhou Tian's star map was shocked. Although he was already comparable to the 9 tribulations Zhu Bing, when he felt this aura, he still felt a great threat. This aura was very strong. It was stronger than the experts that Zhou Tian's star map encountered. Before this, among the opponents he encountered, the strongest was the Emperor of the Star Beast clan. However, the power of that star beast emperor was far inferior to that of Qin Shujian. If it weren't for him suppressing it, the time formation would have been shattered under the impact of this aura. But even with the suppression of the supreme treasure, this aura still leaked out. At that moment, the heavenly court was shocked. Regardless of whether it was the experts in closed-door cultivation or not, they all trembled from the bottom of their hearts when they felt the power of the aura. Emperor of Heaven. In Emperor Zhongyuan's palace, Emperor Zhao opened his eyes, and there was a look of horror in his eyes. Several years of hard cultivation. Now, he was almost at the threshold of the upper 3 true immortals, and even if he fought with a 7th true immortal, he was confident that he could contend with him. However, in front of this aura, he still felt like an ant. Zhao Huang was almost certain. Qin Shujian had definitely made another breakthrough in his realm. Emperor of Heaven is already a half-step Dao fruit expert. If he makes a breakthrough now, doesn't that mean... Zhao Huang's chest heaved up and down as he thought of a certain possibility. If he made another breakthrough from half-step Dao fruit, he would be a Dao fruit. Since the birth of this epoch, there had never been a Dao fruit expert. The experts closest to the Dao fruit realm were the primordial demon emperor, the primordial emperor of heaven, and the 2 experts from the Sea of Death and Heaven Abyss. As for the rest, there was nothing else. He had long thought that Qin Shujian might break through to the Dao fruit realm in the future. After all, he was the reincarnation of a Dao fruit. However, Emperor Zhao had never expected this. How could Qin Shujian break through so quickly? It had only been a few years. It had only been 20 to 30 years since the other party had established the heavenly court. Is the reincarnation of a Dao fruit really so domineering? Emperor Zhao's expression kept changing. He had been able to reach the peak of the 6th heaven immortal realm in such a short time. He was extremely talented and incomparable to others. However, compared to Qin Shujian, the difference was not as simple as just one level. On the other side, Xiao Qingfeng's eyes were also filled with shock. Is he going to break through to the Dao fruit realm? This aura made his heart palpitate. He was a 6th heaven immortal, but he was no different from an ant in front of this aura. One had to know. In his previous life, Xiao Qingfeng was a peak 9th heaven immortal. Although he did not reach half-step Dao fruit, he was not far from it. At his peak, he had even fought against half-step Dao fruit experts. However, even a half-step Dao fruit expert would not be able to give Xiao Qingfeng such a feeling. In that case, there was only one explanation. Dao fruit. Someone had broken through to the Dao fruit realm. Or rather, someone was breaking through. In the entire heavenly court, there was only one person who could possibly break through. Moreover, the source of the aura pointed to the heavenly palace. All of his doubts were easily solved. Wu Ming was shocked and also sighed. There has never been an expert who could truly break through to the Dao fruit realm. I didn't expect that I would be able to witness the birth of a Dao fruit expert while I was still alive. It's been hundreds of millions of years, but all of my regrets have been made up now. First, the 8th tribulation Zhu Bing, who had never appeared before, appeared. Now, a Dao fruit expert was born. One after another, unforeseen events. The blood in Wu Ming's heart that had been silent for a long time gradually revived. It seems that I should also make a breakthrough. As Wu Ming spoke, a powerful aura appeared on his body. Seeing this, Xiao Qingfeng was surprised. Are you going to break through to the 5th tribulation, Zhu Bing? I've accumulated a lot of foundation over the years. I can barely break through. Wu Ming smiled. He was not afraid of the upcoming heavenly tribulation at all. On the side, the sky-breaking halberd fell into a daze. A breakthrough? Was he going to break through again? He still remembered that when he broke through to the 5th tribulation Zhu Bing, Wu Ming was only a 3rd tribulation Zhu Bing, and the Godslayer was only a 4th tribulation Zhu Bing. But now, he was still a 5th tribulation Zhu Bing, but one was about to go from the 3rd tribulation to the 5th tribulation, and the other was even more exaggerated. He had directly jumped from the 4th tribulation to the 8th tribulation. The comparison. The sky-breaking halberd felt stifled. It turned out that unknowingly, The gap between him and the other Zhu Bing had been widened and even surpassed. There was no reason. The sky-breaking halberd also had an impulse to break through. But when he thought of the horror of the sixth tribulation, he forcibly suppressed the thought in his heart. He successfully broke through to the fifth tribulation because of his many years of accumulation in the demon abyss. But it was not so easy to break through to the sixth tribulation. The sky-breaking halberd felt that his foundation had been strengthened a lot after cultivating in the heavenly court, but there was still a big gap to go through the sixth tribulation. 10 years. Give me another 10 years of accumulation, and I'm almost confident that I can pass the tribulation. Patianyas secretly set a goal for himself. 10 years. He had to accumulate enough foundation in 10 years and then pass the sixth tribulation. Beside him, Xiao Qingfeng nodded. It's naturally a good thing that you can break through. Go, I hope you can pass the tribulation successfully.
To be honest,
Wu Ming's sudden tribulation also surprised him. But it was only for a moment, and then Xiao Qingfeng felt relieved. No matter what, Wu Ming was his Zhu Bing. If he succeeded in passing the tribulation, his strength would also increase greatly. 5th tribulation Zhu Bing in hand. Xiao Qingfeng felt that his strength should be the strongest among all the third-level true immortals in the heavenly court. Even Zhao Huang. He might not be his match. With Xiao Qingfeng's approval, Wu Ming directly left the Eastern War God Temple, broke through the southern heavenly gate, and instantly disappeared into the atmosphere. In less than half a day, thunder rolled down, indicating that the tribulation had officially begun. On the other side, the majestic aura emanating from Qin Shujian was still suppressing the heavenly court, and it was becoming more and more intense. Chapter 920. Dao Fruit. Chu Kuangtu, who was cultivating in the hall, suddenly changed his expression. As a Dao Fruit expert of the Second Era, he was more familiar with this level of aura than anyone else.
Soon,
Chu Kuangtu thought of something. Could it be that the Qin Emperor used the power of time to break through the Dao Fruit realm? It shouldn't be. Breaking through the Dao Fruit realm is not limited by time at all. Otherwise, how could there be so few Dao Fruit experts in each era? He first thought of the power of time a few years ago, but soon overturned his guess. Breaking through the Dao Fruit realm. It was not something that could be achieved with enough time. Some cultivators had existed since the beginning of the era, but they could not break through the threshold at the end of the era. The reason was, it was because the Dao Fruit realm had nothing to do with the length of time. Whether one broke through or not was a mysterious matter. After all, although the power of time was difficult to comprehend, as long as one reached the 9th level of immortal and hardened his heart to comprehend it, there was still a high chance of success. If everyone could use the power of time to break through the Dao Fruit realm, in that case, the number of Dao fruits in each epoch would definitely increase by at least 4 to 5 times. After all, though the fruits of Dao in each epoch were rare, 9th heaven immortals might not be plentiful, but their numbers were definitely frighteningly large. He felt that familiar aura. Chu Kuangtu could not keep calm at all. At this moment, he used his divine thought. The originally closed door of the hall suddenly opened, and Niu Dali walked in from outside. You feel it, right? Yes, the aura of the Dao Fruit realm. The Qin Emperor may be about to break through. Chu Kuangtu nodded slightly in response to Niu Dali's question. Niu Dali looked solemn. How could the Qin Emperor break through so quickly in this era? Even if he has the foundation of the Third Era, it is impossible for him to reach the Dao Fruit realm in just a few decades. You should know that it took us more than 1,000,000 years to break through the Dao Fruit realm. The Qin Emperor's breakthrough this time is somewhat unusual. Every Dao Fruit expert had to go through millions or even billions of years of bitter cultivation to finally break through the boundary. But this era was different. The lifespan of a perfected immortal was only 129,600 years, so no Dao fruit had been born until now. In the ancient era, if Qin Song did not die halfway, there was hope for him to break through. However, the overall probability of a breakthrough was incomparable to that of other eras. From this, it could be seen just how difficult it was to break through to Tao fruit. How long had it been since Qin Shujin advanced to the true immortal realm? At most, it had only been a few decades. Even the reincarnation of other Tao fruits would not have been able to complete the path to the true immortal realm in a few decades, let alone advance to the Tao fruit realm. Hearing this, Chu Kuangtu said in a deep voice, "The Qin Emperor's path is completely different from ours. The fact that he could reach the threshold of the Tao fruit so quickly must have something to do with his unique path. Furthermore, have you noticed that the Qin Emperor's aura is much stronger than when cultivators break through to the Tao fruit realm? If he really breaks through, he might be comparable to the ancient gods of the first era. In all the epochs, the strongest batch of Tao fruits were the Tao fruits of the first epoch." He thought of those ancient gods. Chu Kuangtu also showed a deep fear. Although Niodali was also a Tao fruit of the first era, he wasn't qualified to be called an ancient god. In fact, as a Tao fruit, Niodali was only the mount of a powerful ancient god. The fallen Taiching holy man was one of the ancient gods. Impossible. Niodali refuted Chu Kuangtu's words as soon as he finished speaking. The ancient gods are much stronger than you think. Although you and I are Tao fruits, we are still far from being comparable to the ancient gods. Although the Qin Emperor's aura is terrifying, I don't think it's possible for him to be comparable to the ancient gods. No one knew the ancient gods better than him. Niodali still felt a lingering fear when he recalled the strength of the Taiching holy man. That kind of strength. It didn't mean that one could compete with him just because they were Tao fruits. In the third era, the Taiching holy man wouldn't have fallen at the end of the era if he hadn't been searching for the true secret. That kind of existence. Even the end of the era couldn't really threaten him. Only when the entire universe was completely destroyed and there was no possibility for it to be reborn would the ancient gods truly walk towards extinction. In the current few epochs, the fallen ancient gods were all searching for something on their own initiative and had no choice but to fall. In short, they were no different from committing suicide. Let's wait and see. If the Qin Emperor can really reach the Tao fruit level, it'll be a good thing for you and me. Chu Kuangtu sighed. Their biggest weakness now was that they didn't have the Tao fruit to suppress them. If Qin Shujian could break through, then their only weakness would be made up. He had a hunch. The real battle wasn't far away. It was just right for someone to break through at this time. After that, Chu Kuangtu's gaze fell on Niodali. If the Qin Emperor succeeds, it's a little inappropriate for you and me as seniors to be still in the upper 3 true immortal realms. So, what if it's inappropriate? The Tao fruit level can't be broken through at will. Niodali shook his head. He didn't care. Immediately, he turned and left the hall. Seeing this, Chu Kuangtu waved his hand, and the hall door slammed shut. After the hall door closed, he sat down cross-legged and prepared for the next round of cultivation. However, after a quarter of an hour, Chu Kuangtu helplessly opened his eyes. He realized Qin Shujian was now breaking through. His aura was overwhelming the heavenly court, and he couldn't calm down at all. He couldn't calm down. Naturally, he couldn't concentrate on cultivation. There's no way to stay in the heavenly court. Chu Kuangtu couldn't help but complain in his heart. But he also understood. A true immortal transforming into the Tao fruit level was indeed powerful. Ordinary cultivators couldn't compete with him at all. There was no other way. Chu Kuangtu could only walk out of the hall and walk out of the southern heavenly gate. He couldn't stay in the heavenly court any longer. He could only go to the 4 continents and open up a cave to cultivate. Compared with the heavenly court, the 4 continents were destined to be much worse. But there was no other way. If he didn't leave, he couldn't cultivate at all. In this way, even if the 4 continents were a little worse, he could only make do. When Chu Kuangtu left, some true immortals, like him, left the heavenly court and returned to the 4 continents to cultivate. For a time, there were only a few immortals left in the heavenly court. Chapter 9:21. In the inner hall of the heavenly palace, Qin Shujian sat upright on the emperor's throne. The Tao runes became thicker and thicker, and one could even vaguely see the flow of laws. Rumble. The laws turned into a long river, and it was like a surging river.
Soon.
The long river of laws appeared one after another. Then, Qin Shujian's body was shining with endless rays of light. The rays of light directly broke through the restraints of the inner hall of the heavenly palace and even the heavenly courts, shining in the eyes of all living beings in the 4 great continents. There were billions of rays of light. There was also endless purple qi. All the cultivators in the 4 great continents looked up at the phenomenon in the sky at this moment. There was shock in their eyes, but more than that, they were puzzled. They did not understand. Why would such a phenomenon appear in the world for no reason? A natural phenomenon. Something unusual must have happened. Could it be that some expert has broken through? Some cultivators immediately thought of the breakthrough of an expert. As soon as he finished speaking, someone immediately sneered. Since when has there been such a phenomenon when an expert breaks through? Even if it's a perfected immortal breaking through, it can only affect such a large area. That's right. It's definitely not a phenomenon caused by an expert breaking through. The phenomenon of an expert breaking through to the perfected immortal realm is nothing compared to this. Maybe the heavenly courts know what's going on. Many cultivators were discussing. The phenomenon in the world now aroused the curiosity of many people. However, no matter how curious they were, they could not figure out what was going on. Purple qi was vast. Rays of light shone. It lasted for half a year. In the beginning, many cultivators were very interested in the heaven and earth anomaly, but as time passed, they gradually got used to it. The so-called appearance of a supreme treasure and the breakthrough of an expert were all overturned. Because no supreme treasure was born and no expert was breaking through, there would be no changes for half a year. What exactly was it? They still did not understand. However, the phenomenon had existed for a long time and there were no adverse consequences, so these cultivators naturally did not care. In the inner hall of the heavenly palace, Qin Shujian was still sitting cross-legged. The time formation that had been maintained was now on the verge of collapse under the pressure of that ancient aura. Zhou Tian pushed his power to the extreme with the star map, frantically suppressing the formation. In the sea of consciousness, the god-slaying saber was completely captivated. He realized, when his gaze landed on Qin Shujian's Tao aura, there were some mysterious changes. However, he wasn't sure what those changes were. But there was a voice in Godslayer's heart that told him, don't worry. As long as he comprehended enough, there was hope for him to advance to the 9 tribulations Zubing. Regarding this, Godslayer was naturally very enthusiastic. After all, he was now an 8th tribulation Zubing. If he went up, he would be a 9th tribulation.
To be honest,
Godslayer wasn't confident that he could break through the 9th tribulation. When he broke through the 8th tribulation, he had already used up all his means. In the end, it was Qin Shujian who helped him, and he barely succeeded in passing the tribulation. Even the 8th tribulation was like this. The power of the 9 tribulations would definitely be even more terrifying. At that time, if he really faced the 9th tribulation, Godslayer felt that his chances of defeat were higher. Now, if he could comprehend Qin Shujian's Tao aura and increase his chances of breaking through to the 9 tribulations in the future, it would undoubtedly be a great thing.
So,
ever since the strange phenomenon appeared, the god-slaying saber had completely calmed its mind and seriously comprehended that mysterious thing. Time passed. The vision also became stronger and stronger. First, the heavenly palace shook, then the heavenly court shook. With Qin Shujian as the center, a boundless power swept across the entire astral wind layer in an instant. At that moment, any creature existing in the astral wind layer couldn't help but bow down in worship. And the creatures in the 4 continents all looked up at the sky.
There.
It was completely covered by purple at some point. That thick purple gas could no longer be described by how many miles it stretched. It was as if a purple cloud had condensed below the sky and covered the world, and would descend at any time. That feeling, It cast a lingering shadow in the hearts of all living beings. Zhongzhou's imperial city. Emperor Zhao stood in the palace garden, looking at the sky with his hands behind his back. His expression was extremely complicated. Since the appearance of the vision, it had caused a lot of panic among the human race, but he suppressed it all. Until now, the human race had already gotten used to the vision. But in reality, only an expert at his level could clearly sense how terrifying the aura contained in the phenomenon was. In front of that aura, he was no different from an ant. In fact, Emperor Zhao suspected that even if he broke through to the upper 3 true immortal levels, there wouldn't be much of a difference. It's said that if you don't break through to the true immortal level, you're an ant. When you break through to the true immortal level, you're still an ant in front of more powerful true immortals. Now, even more powerful true immortals are ants in front of existences above the true immortal level. The Tao is endless. Then, are there existences who can treat Tao fruits like ants? For no reason, such a thought appeared in Emperor Zhao's mind. There might be existences who treated Tao fruits like ants, but that was not something he could understand. In this era, there wasn't even a single Tao fruit, let alone existences who surpassed it. Next to Emperor Zhao stood Xiang. The crown prince of the great Zhao dynasty also had a solemn expression. Father, do you think the Emperor of Heaven has a chance of successfully breaking through? It's hard to say. Emperor Zhao shook his head and said indifferently, the ancient Emperor of Heaven was also a hero of his generation, but in the end, he fell on the path to Tao fruit. The current Emperor of Heaven is the reincarnation of Tao fruit, and his foundation is even more powerful. It's not impossible for him to achieve what the ancient Emperor of Heaven failed to do. It's just that since the beginning of this era, there has never been an expert who could take that step. Whether the Emperor of Heaven can break through or not depends on the will of the heavens. As soon as he finished speaking, Emperor Zhao paused and said again, however, if the Emperor of Heaven can successfully break through, then the problem of the demon abyss will no longer be a problem, and the disaster 1,000,000 years ago will no longer be possible. Although the demon abyss was very strong, there was definitely no Tao fruit. Or else, in the ancient times, the great 1,000 worlds should have been destroyed. Therefore, once Qin Shujian successfully broke through, the heavenly court would have the capital to sweep through the demon abyss. Emperor Zhao hoped from the bottom of his heart that the other party could break through that threshold.
Hearing that,
Xiang nodded thoughtfully. The demon abyss was indeed a huge hidden danger. Ever since the ancient times were destroyed, the problem of the demon abyss had been a knife hanging over the heads of the myriad races. Even now that the heavenly court had been established and the myriad races' strength had greatly increased, no one dared to relax. The reason was, it was because the threat of the demon abyss still existed. Chapter 922. In the Inner World. Now, the entire world was undergoing earth-shattering changes. The Tongtian Mountains. This was the territory of the Eldar. Jianmu had now grown to the point where he could reach the heavens and the earth. He had completely realized what Qin Shujian had said in the past. The tree trunk was 1,000,000 feet tall. The lush branches and leaves covered most of the Tongtian Mountains. The world is transforming. No, it should be the world is advancing. I can already feel it. It's a sign that the path ahead is about to be opened. Jianmu woke up from his deep sleep. The branches and leaves trembled slightly, and a surge of divine sense was awakened from the tree trunk. It had been more than 90,000 years since the world was born. As the first living being in the world, he had already reached the peak of the 6th level of the immortal realm tens of thousands of years ago. But because of the middle world, it made it much more difficult for Jianmu to break through from the 6th level of the immortal realm to the 7th level of the immortal realm. Such a difficulty. In fact, it was no less difficult than the perfected immortals of the great wide world, because both of them broke through the limits of the world and advanced to another level. Of course, in terms of difficulty, breaking through to the great wide world was more difficult than breaking through to the 3rd level of the true immortal realm in the middle world. But there was a limit. Even though the Builder Tree was the first living being to be born in the world and possessed unparalleled talent, it was still extremely powerful. However, it was not an easy task to cross this boundary. For tens of thousands of years, he had been stuck at the 6th level of the immortal realm. Even though his foundation was growing every moment, it was far from breaking through the limits of the world. But now, Jianmu saw hope. The world was advancing, and the upper limit of the 3rd level of the true immortal realm was gradually being opened. At that moment, the aura on his body had begun to boil. The huge movement immediately attracted the attention of the Eldar in the Tongtian Mountains. For a moment, many Eldar powerhouses came in front of Jianmu and bowed. "Greetings, my emperor." The weakest of those Eldar powerhouses was at the peak of the immortal realm. Among them, there were no less than 10 perfected immortals. Such a foundation. Those weak races couldn't compare at all. This was also the reason why the Eldar were known as the #1 clan in the inner worlds. Even the human race paled in comparison to them. Shortly after, an Eldar true immortal straightened his body and asked respectfully, "May I ask my emperor what is going on? I feel like the entire world is changing." After saying this, the other Eldar experts also pricked up their ears, waiting for Jianmu's reply. Usually, this Eldar emperor was always in a state of deep sleep and rarely woke up. Now that the world had just changed, the other party had awakened. It would be impossible to say that there was no connection between the two. Furthermore, their emperor was the first living being to be born in the world. If there were any changes in the world, the other party would definitely know the reason. Hearing this, Jianmu's slow and dignified voice rang out. "Just as you have sensed, the entire world is changing. Strictly speaking, it shouldn't be called a change, but a promotion." Promotion. Some Eldar experts were stunned. Jianmu said, "That's right, promotion. The world is now promoting to a higher level. In the past, the level 6 immortal was the limit for the world. Now that the world is promoting, I can already see the path ahead. In that case, my emperor is about to break through." The Eldar experts were ecstatic. Ling Huang was about to break through. For the entire Eldar, this was great news. Now, although Ling Huang was also the #1 expert in the world, Ling Huang wasn't the only one who had reached the level 6 immortal. Some of the other emperors of the big clans were also at the same level. But if their emperor made another breakthrough, the Eldar might have the chance to sweep through all the clans. "Yes, I am about to break through," Jianmu admitted frankly, then said, "If I can break through, the emperors of the other clans will also be able to take this opportunity to break through the threshold of level 6 immortal. All of you, prepare yourselves. I have a feeling that this promotion might intensify the conflict between the clans." "We understand. You may leave. Don't let any cultivators disturb me." Yes. Many Eldar experts obeyed the order. Immediately, the Eldar entered a state of martial law. Jianmu didn't pay too much attention to this. He immersed himself in the world and silently comprehended the changes in the world, trying to find the opportunity to break through. When the Eldar was in a state of martial law, the human clan also entered a state of martial law. Feng, who was already the human emperor, was sitting upright in a huge palace. An extremely powerful aura was emitted from his body, enough to suppress everything. "The world is promoting, and my path ahead is about to open." Feng murmured softly, and a light flashed in his eyes. The path ahead was opened. It meant that the level 6 immortal was no longer the limit of the world. In the future, the level 7 immortal, level 8 immortal, and even level 9 immortal would appear one after another. The upper limit of the experts would be higher. The conflict between the clans would be more intense. Now, all the top clans used the existence of the level 6 immortal as the standard. However, as long as the world was successfully promoted, the level 6 immortal would no longer be qualified to be called the top. "I can feel the promotion of the world. I think they can do the same." I'm afraid that the emperors of the top clans are all waiting for this opportunity to promote. However, the possibility of the other emperors advancing immediately is not high. On the contrary, the Eldar is the most likely to be the first to break through. Thinking of Jianmu, Feng's expression turned solemn. If there was anyone in the world that he was most afraid of, Jianmu was definitely at the top. Fortunately, right now the relationship between the human clan and Eldar was not bad. In the past, when the human clan was born, he also owed Eldar a lot. Now that the human clan was strong, although they did not form an alliance with Eldar, they could be considered to coexist peacefully. Even if Jianmu successfully broke through, Foam did not think that Eldar would attack the human clan. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. Instead of leaving the possibility in the hands of others, it was better to control his own fate. The promotion of the world. This is my chance. When I break through to the level 7 immortal in one go, dragons. Foam snorted coldly and closed his eyes. His mind was immersed in the world, silently comprehending the changes. The world was advancing. The entire process was not very fast, nor was it very slow. At the beginning, only the top emperors of the various clans sensed the changes in the world. However, as the movement of the advancement became greater and greater, some true immortals of the various clans, as well as cultivators below the true immortal realm, slowly sensed that the world was undergoing an earth-shattering transformation. At this moment, the world shook. A huge amount of spiritual energy erupted from the ground, forming a tide that swept across the entire world. At that moment, some cultivators broke through on the spot, while some cultivators accidentally went berserk under the impact of the spiritual energy tide and exploded. However, the number of cultivators who advanced was far more than the number of cultivators who exploded and died. A few days later, the strength of the cultivators of the myriad clans had increased by a level. Chapter 9:23. Rumble. The advancement of heaven and earth was completely different from the transformation of a minor thousand world to a middle thousand world. This time, the advancement took even longer. The spirit chi tide was a great opportunity for the living beings of the inner world, whether it was a perfected immortal or a heavenly martial artist. In front of the spirit chi tide, they had obtained many benefits. Among them, the advancement of the inner world caused the hidden mother stream to appear in heaven and earth. Those perfected immortals took this opportunity to comprehend their own laws and break through their original realm. The myriad Tao of heaven and earth. I'm about to break through. A human perfected immortal looked at the mother stream in the sky with an intoxicated look on his face. The path he was taking now had never been taken by anyone before. Every step he took was a path opened by himself. Under normal circumstances, the path ahead would not be so easy to open. But it was different now. The heaven and earth laws were all present. Observing the myriad Tao laws and gaining insights from them to open up one's own laws was much easier. This was a blessing that benefited the myriad races. Just as the myriad races of the inner world were making breakthroughs, heaven and earth were also crazily expanding. At the same time, Qin Shujian, whose mind was focused on the core of heaven and earth, was completely expanding with the expansion of heaven and earth. Then, it was the heaven and earth reciprocation. Rumble. His body buzzed and vibrated. Endless laws appeared on the surface of his body, then turned into Taoist rhymes and engraved on his skin. Lines were engraved, and bright golden light burst out. Each rune represented a complete set of rules. As more and more lines appeared, Qin Shujian's aura became more and more terrifying. The Great Thousand World. It began to breed a shocking thunder tribulation. Dark clouds covered the purple chi. Red lightning bolts moved around like wild dragons, each of them emitting an aura that made one's heart palpitate. However, the tribulation clouds formed, but no thunder tribulation fell, as if heaven and earth were afraid of something. In the deepest part of the Dead Sea region, the huge stone statue shook violently, and a terrifying aura was emitted from it, causing all the dangers in the surrounding sea to explode and die. Stone fragments fell. The sleeping stone statue seemed to be completely awakened. This aura definitely comes from the Tao fruit level. I didn't expect that after so many years, a Dao fruit level expert would be born in this world. Yang was both shocked and excited at the same time. The birth of a Dao fruit proved that there was a path ahead. As early as Qin Shujian came, he knew that there was a Dao fruit realm above. However, under the premise that no one had broken through in this era, he always had a certain degree of doubt. However, things were different now. This aura that made his heart palpitate definitely originated from the Dao fruit level. At this moment, Yang felt his soul tremble. Even though he was already a half-step Dao fruit expert and was only a step away from the Dao fruit realm, he could still sense how terrifying it was. Very strong. He was terrifyingly strong. Yang did not know who had broken through to the Dao fruit realm. However, he understood that if he were to face an existence of this level, he would definitely die. Regarding this, Yang could not help but feel a trace of fear in his heart. Although he had been imprisoned here for hundreds of millions of years, he did not want to die here. When the Sea of Death was affected, Heaven Abyss sighed. Ian, who had already woken up, was also incomparably shocked. He had always thought that he would be the strongest expert in the world, but now it seemed that an even stronger existence was about to be born. Compared to such an existence, Ian felt that he was no match for it at all. At this moment, not only did his inner world undergo a powerful transformation and upgrade, but the upper-class world also had a variety of strange phenomena. The living beings of the two worlds were completely in a state of shock. As for those players, they were all in a state of eating melons. After closing the forum, Fu Moyan's current face was completely that of a stranger. Recalling what he had seen just now, his brows were also tightly furrowed. Senior, do you know what happened? After not playing the game for a period of time, Fu Moyan did not expect that there would be such a huge change in the game now. An incomparably powerful phenomenon. It covered the 4 major continents. He couldn't help but wonder what kind of opportunity had appeared to cause such a powerful phenomenon to appear. If it was possible, Fu Moyan had the urge to play the game and see if he could snatch the opportunity. Hearing this, Qin Yi's voice was inexplicable. I know. Senior, you really know. Fu Moyan's spirit was lifted. He was just asking casually, but he did not expect the other party to really know. Immediately, he hurriedly said, Then is it some powerful opportunity? Is there any possibility of me obtaining it? An opportunity is an opportunity, but it's not your opportunity. Not to mention you. Even if a true immortal of the upper 3 grades gets involved, it will be a dead end.
Qin Yi's tone was strange.
Fu Moyan could also tell that something was wrong with the other party. Senior, can you explain in detail? Strictly speaking, the phenomenon of the upper-class world is not the birth of any opportunity, but caused by the main body's breakthrough. The phenomenon caused by the Emperor of Heaven's breakthrough. Fu Moyan was completely shocked. It was actually caused by Qin Shujian's breakthrough. What kind of breakthrough could cause such a powerful phenomenon? Furthermore, it had lasted for such a long time without stopping? Qin Yi said, True immortal is not the end. With your current realm, there are many things that you can't understand. When you grow up in the future, you will naturally know. Don't think too much now. Complete the mission with peace of mind, and then increase your strength. That level, to be honest, it's too far away from you. It dealt a blow to Fu Moyan. Immediately after, Qin Yi added, The main body is about to succeed in breaking through. As long as he succeeds in breaking through, the heavenly Tao of your world might not be able to do anything to me. He did not explain too much. The Dao fruit level was not something a cultivator who had not even reached the God martial realm was qualified to come into contact with. When Fu Moyan heard this, even though he was curious, it was not good for him to ask too much. He tidied up. He left the room. Ever since he killed a few cultivators last time, Fu Moyan's ranking on the wanted list had risen by another level, second only to Dongfang Shua, who was ranked first. It was also because of this. The Heaven Wasteland Great World's bounty on him had also increased by a lot.
Until now,
Fu Moyan had no choice but to change his appearance frequently to prevent the other party from finding him. Sigh. Technology is also a problem. Although the cultivation of the heaven wasteland great world was backward, its technology was not backward at all. The heavenly eye covered all corners of the world, and then there was a large amount of data filtering. As long as he had existed in a certain place, even if he had changed his appearance, it would not take long to deduce his changed identity. For this, Fu Moyan had to change his appearance every few days. Chapter 924. The Boundless World. The Heavenly Court. The formation of time had all been broken. Even with Zhou Tian's star map as the formation eye, the time formation itself was not an exquisite and powerful formation. As a result, even with the suppression of a supreme treasure comparable to the 9 tribulations Zhu Bing, there was no way it could be so strong that it was unbreakable.
So,
the time formation was broken. In less than 10 years, it was declared broken.
to this,
Qin Shujian did not pay attention to it, because his entire body and mind were immersed in the inner world. When he was in the inner world, as early as thousands of years ago, he had entered the stage of breaking through. But until now, the inner world had truly begun to advance. And with the advancement of the inner world, Qin Shujian felt that his entire body and mind were undergoing a transformation. Buzz, a vast river of time, could be vaguely seen. Qin Shujian's figure sitting upright in the heavenly palace seemed to have become a little weaker. At the same time, the same figure had appeared in the river of time, the universe's long river of time. Qin Shujian found that he was now inside the long river of time, completely different from the time when he entered the long river of time and stepped on the river water. The current him. His entire body was soaked in the river water. A powerful binding force came from all directions, making him feel a lot of resistance when he tried to move. If I want to become a Dao fruit, I have to jump out of time. Any cultivator will have a past, present, and future in the long river of time, and I am the reincarnation of a Dao fruit, so there is no past and future. Compared to ordinary cultivators, I have a certain advantage. But in fact, although I don't have a past or future, I have a present. Qin Shujian's thoughts turned, and he was very clear about his current situation. Strictly speaking, his real physical body still existed in the heavenly court in a state of breakthrough. What had entered the long river of time now was only his soul. He reached out his hand. Qin Shujian stirred the river water. The movement of the river water indicated the passing of lifespan. The river of time doesn't exist in my past or future, but it exists in my present. It is also because my present body is still bound by the river of time that there is a limit to my lifespan. Even if my lifespan is extremely long, there will still be an end. Therefore, what I need to do now is to surpass the river of time and completely remove my present body from the imprint of the river of time. With that thought in mind, Qin Shujian suddenly punched out. A power that could destroy the heavens and the earth began to stir wildly in the river, and the binding force immediately weakened. Take this opportunity. He took a step forward and floated up to the surface of the river. Immediately after, another punch was thrown. However, before the binding force weakened, a heaven collapsing and earth-shattering power fell from the river. Qin Shujian's floating body was suddenly knocked down a little. The body formed by the divine soul also seemed to have become a little blurry. Regarding this, Qin Shujian didn't panic. When he reached out his hand, Zhou Tian's star map appeared out of thin air. The supreme treasure comparable to the 9 tribulations, Zhu Bing faced the power that was falling down. Boom! The 2 tyrannical forces shook the long river of time violently. Normally speaking, when a cultivator broke through to the Dao fruit realm and broke free from the long river of time, there was no way to borrow external forces. However, Zhou Tian's star map was different. In other eras, it could be called an innate supreme treasure. In this era, it could be called the 9 tribulations Zhu Bing. Such a supreme treasure. It already involved the Dao fruit realm. Therefore, even when a cultivator broke through to the Dao fruit realm and broke free from the long river of time by himself, he could still borrow the help of supreme treasures. Zhou Tian's star map emitted a brilliant light. A river of stars crossed the sky and directly bombarded the long river of time. Immediately after, extremely powerful star beasts erupted with attacks, constantly shaking the long river of time.
Seeing this,
Qin Shu Jian didn't hesitate. He clenched one hand into a fist and took advantage of the moment when the long river of time was shaking to forcefully tear it apart. Instantly, there was a moment of stagnation in the river. A crack appeared in it, as if the river had been cut off. However, it only lasted for less than a breath before the river was about to converge again. However, even if it was only a breath of time, Qin Shu Jian took this opportunity to directly step out of the long river of time. The moment he left the river, the many invisible shackles on his body all collapsed. Endless Taoist rhymes appeared from his body and wrapped his divine soul away. Above the great thousand world, the void cracked open. A beam of golden light bombarded down and directly landed on Qin Shujian's body. Buzz, heaven and earth buzzed. The tribulation clouds that had been condensing for a long time finally bombarded at this moment. At the same time, Qin Shujian, who was sitting on the throne, suddenly opened his eyes. A beam of golden light shot out from his eyes. In an instant, it swept across the vast thousand world. Then, it penetrated the barrier between heaven and earth and disappeared into the endless void. Heavenly tribulation. The golden light disappeared. Qin Shujian raised his head. His gaze directly passed through the obstruction of the heavenly palace and saw the lightning falling from above. He slowly got up. A vast and boundless aura instantly erupted from his body. Like a wave, it swept in all directions with him as the center. The heavenly quartz formation collapsed. The heaven and earth astral wind seal. At this moment, all the living beings in the 4 great continents could not help but worship. Perfected immortals were fine too, or ordinary cultivators. At this moment, there was no difference. The aura swept very quickly, but it also disappeared very quickly. Qin Shujian did not move at all, and his figure had already disappeared from the emperor's throne. In the next breath, he appeared below the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation that was originally bombarding down seemed to have encountered a powerful obstacle. It directly froze in midair and then quietly dissipated. The tribulation cloud surged. A huge eye appeared from the sky. There was no trace of emotion in the eye. Only the appearance of all living beings could be seen inside. The heavenly path. The moment Qin Shujian saw the eye, he recognized the identity of the eye. It was the manifestation of the will of the heavenly path of the great wide world itself. You know very well where I come from. Everything I do is beneficial to you and not harmful at all. His calm words were heard. There was no fluctuation in his eyes at all. Seeing this, Qin Shujian's expression was slightly cold. I'm giving you face because you're the heavenly path and gave birth to all living beings in the world. I hope you don't be ungrateful. If you really want to make a move, I'll destroy you now. You should know that I have the strength now. As he spoke, endless Tao runes appeared on his body. Behind him, there was also a vast illusory image of heaven and earth condensing, faintly contending with the great wide world. It was the manifestation of the power of the inner world. After the inner world was promoted to the great wide world, Qin Shujian could already materialize the inner world. On one side was the heavenly path of the great wide world. On the other side was the manifestation of the power of the inner world. Even though neither side made a move, the natural power that overflowed had already turned everything around into nothingness. Chapter 9:25. The scene was silent. Qin Shujian looked at the huge eye. The two did not move at all. Only the surrounding void was constantly collapsing and regenerating. After a long time, the huge eye slowly retreated. As it left, all of the tribulation clouds dissipated. Seeing this, Qin Shujian did not stop it. The huge eye was the manifestation of the will of the heavenly Tao. However, the will of the heavenly Tao did not have the intelligence of a living being. It could only follow the rules and do what was beneficial to the world. Just like before, the establishment of the heavenly court was beneficial to the myriad races. Therefore, the heavenly Tao gave a certain degree of luck. But it was different now. Qin Shu Jian broke through the Tao fruit realm and completely broke free from the shackles of the world. This was a threat to the heavenly Tao. Therefore, it wanted to eliminate this threat. However, Qin Shu Jian was too strong, making the heavenly Tao feel a greater threat. After weighing the pros and cons of the two, in the end, it chose to retreat. All the phenomena disappeared. Qin Shu Jian's body suddenly disappeared in the void. In the next breath, he appeared in the array above the heavenly court. Sanhua was still suppressing the illusory star map of Zhou Tian. Years of consumption. It caused the stars placed inside to lose a lot of power. Qin Shu Jian only took a glance at it and saw through the actual situation of the formation. In another 10 years, the power of the stars should be exhausted. It is not advisable to spoil things by excessive enthusiasm. He shook his head. But Qin Shu Jian did not do anything. With the original situation of the Great Thousand World, if he did not do this, there was no way to fight against the demon abyss. Of course, that was a matter of the past. In the past, the Great Thousand World did not have enough powerhouses, so they had to be cautious when facing the demon abyss. But it was different now. He broke through to the Tao fruit realm. Qin Shu Jian no longer took the so-called demon abyss seriously. Although the breakthrough from the half-step Tao fruit realm to the Tao fruit realm was only a small step, in fact, it was the difference between two worlds. At this moment, the Sanhua sword shook and transformed into a human figure. It bowed respectfully to Qin Shu Jian. Sanhua greets the Emperor of Heaven. His tone and attitude were unprecedentedly respectful. Compared to the past, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. There was no other way. Although he had submitted to Qin Shu Jian in the past, he was still a Khanate cardinal treasure. He was qualified to be ranked as a Tao fruit-level divine weapon. Qin Shu Jian was powerful. However, he was only an upper third layer true immortal. However, things were different now. After breaking through to the Tao fruit realm, the other party's life level had undergone a metamorphosis. In any epoch, Tao fruit experts were existences that truly stood at the apex of the universe. The fallen swordmaster was one such existence, and so was Qin Shu Jian. Therefore, even though Sanhua was a Khanate supreme treasure, he didn't dare to be careless. No need for formalities. Thank you, Emperor of Heaven. Sanhua straightened up. Qin Shu Jian said, "You used to be a sword master divine weapon. You and I should have been enemies. However, since you turned back and have guarded the heavenly court for a period of time, you can be considered to have made up for your mistakes. I will let bygones be bygones. Now, do you want to continue staying in the heavenly court, or do you want to leave the heavenly court and find the next person of destiny? If you stay, I will confer you a true deity position and give you the right to enter the heavenly court to discuss matters. However, if you don't want to stay in the heavenly court, I will definitely not force you." If it was in the past, there was no way Qin Shu Jian was going to let a Khanate supreme treasure go. However, things were different now. He had broken through to the Tao fruit realm in a more powerful way. Compared to the third epoch, he was far from comparable to the third epoch. Moreover, Zhou Tian's star map had also advanced to a level comparable to the 9 tribulations Zubing's. Although a Khanate supreme treasure was precious. If the other party really didn't want to stay, Qin Shu Jian didn't want to force him. Hearing that, Sanhua fell silent. He understood that Qin Shu Jian's words were giving him the right to make the decision. The choice he made would represent his future fate. After a while, Sanhua said in a deep voice, "If the Emperor of Heaven doesn't abandon me, I'm willing to stay in the heavenly court." Instead of leaving the heavenly court to find the next ruler, it was better to stay in the heavenly court with peace of mind. In any case, if the so-called person of destiny really appeared, then sooner or later, he would grow up. When that time came, he would also come to the heavenly court. In that case, he didn't need to waste too much time. Good. Qin Shu Jian took out the investiture of the gods and said loudly, "San Hua, come forward and receive the title." "Yes, your majesty." Khanate supreme treasures are the most powerful among all divine weapons in the world. Today, I will confer you the title of Sword Ancestor, and all longsword-type weapons will be led by you. After saying that, a powerful force rose from the investiture of the gods and landed on San Hua. At the same time, an even more powerful force came from San Hua's body. In an instant, the investiture of the gods' aura surged. As a supreme treasure conferred by the heavenly court, its rank was not low, and it was comparable to Zhu Bing's. Now, with the help of the Khanate's supreme treasure, it was able to rise in rank. Until now, the investiture of the gods had reached the level of 6th tribulation Zhu Bing, and it was not weaker than Tiandi Bell and the heaven-reaching mirror. At the same time, all the long swords in the 4 great continents seemed to have been born with intelligence, and they all let out a pleasant sound. Then, the swords tilted slightly and bowed in the direction of San Hua. Thousands of swords bowing to the ancestor. Nothing could be more powerful than this. When San Hua ascended to the deity position, the immortals and gods who left their names on the investiture of the gods also received the news immediately. Sword Ancestor. What a domineering title. Zhao Huang's eyes flickered slightly. Not everyone could be called an ancestor. The fact that San Hua could be called the Sword Ancestor already explained a lot. He didn't know much about San Hua's existence. He only knew that it was a very powerful divine weapon that had been suppressing the heavenly court's array. Speaking of which, he didn't pay much attention to that divine weapon. But now it was different. That divine weapon had been given the title of Sword Ancestor, and its status was much higher than what Emperor Zhao had imagined. Sword Ancestor. How arrogant. How dare a divine weapon call itself an ancestor? Xiong couldn't help but say. In his opinion, San Hua was not qualified to be the Sword Ancestor at all. Hearing that, Emperor Zhao shook his head. The fact that the Emperor of Heaven could give him the title of Sword Ancestor and that he could take over this title already explains a lot. That Sword Ancestor is not simple. Even someone as powerful as Godslayer didn't get the Saber Ancestor's deity position. San Hua got the Sword Ancestor's deity position. Thinking about it from another perspective, didn't it mean that San Hua was more powerful than Godslayer? 8th Tribulation Zhu Bing is already the peak of this era. 9th Tribulation Zhu Bing only exists in legends and has never appeared before. The problem is that a divine weapon that hasn't appeared in this era doesn't mean that it's the same in other eras. Emperor Zhao thought to himself. He had a lot of guesses about San Hua's origin. Chapter 926. When Qin Shu Jian conferred the title of Sword Ancestor to San Hua, Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali could not sit still. In the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace, the two of them came together. Qin Shu Jian seemed to have foreseen it. Before the two of them arrived, he had already set up things in the hall. A pot of green tea, with green smoke curling up. There were 3 small cups on the stone table, all of which were filled with spiritual tea. "You two are here. Please take a seat." Qin Shu Jian stretched out his hand and gestured with a faint smile on his face.
Hearing that,
Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali cupped their hands solemnly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." With that, the two of them took their seats. After a few years, when they looked at Qin Shu Jian again, the two of them were filled with emotion. In their eyes, Qin Shu Jian in front of them was both real and non-existent. It was as if he had entered a state between illusion and illusion. Regarding this, both Chu Kuangtu and Niu Dali knew very well in their hearts. This state was called Paoang. When one advanced to the Tao fruit realm, they had already transcended the shackles of heaven and earth and were no longer bound by time. Experts in this realm were qualified to see through illusions and pry into the real level. Therefore, this state was called Paoang. They sighed in their hearts. Chu Kuangtu could not help but sigh in admiration. "I didn't expect that you would be the fastest to advance to the Tao fruit realm. I wonder if the method you use now is the rumored rules of myriad Tao?" Rules of myriad Tao. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly and chuckled. It's very difficult to reach the Tao with the rules of myriad Tao. This era is following the path of the rules of myriad Tao. Unfortunately, I didn't reach the Tao with the rules of myriad Tao. Just like the three major systems that were announced, I took the path of evolving heaven and earth. Or rather, you can compare me to a boundless world. And I am equivalent to the heavenly way of the Great Thousand World. The Great Thousand World. The heavenly way. The two of them were both shocked and could not help but look at each other. With their realm, they naturally understood what Qin Shujian meant. However, they did not expect that the Tao that Qin Shujian took would be so powerful. It was comparable to a Great Thousand World. It was not something that the physical sanctification system or the nomological Tao system could compare to. This was because the experts of every era were born in the world. Although they could break through the shackles of the world after advancing to the Tao fruit realm, they were only free from the shackles of the world. It was extremely difficult for them to go against the world. The Great Thousand Worlds. To a certain extent, it was a part of the universe. As such, the power of the heavenly Tao was extremely terrifying. Ordinary Tao fruits did not fear heaven and earth, but if they fought heaven and earth head-on, they had no chance of resisting, unless it was one of the ancient gods of the first era. The Qin Emperor is now able to contend against an ancient god. Niodali took a deep breath and looked extremely shocked. Ancient god. No one knew better than him how powerful the ancient gods were. Every ancient god was a supreme expert in the universe. Even other Tao fruit experts had no chance of resisting an ancient god. Originally, Niodali did not believe that Qin Shujian had the strength to contend against an ancient god.
But now,
he was not so sure. Qin Shujian smiled faintly and said, "The ancient gods are powerful. I haven't fought them yet, so I don't dare to say that I have 100% confidence that I can contend against them." In other words, it was very obvious. Hearing this, the two looked at each other, and the shock in their hearts intensified. Now that the Qin Emperor has made a breakthrough, it is a great thing for us. The ancient god is not here now, and the universe is empty. Now that you are here, as long as there are no major changes, there will be no problems. Chu Kuangtu was relieved. To be honest, he would be lying if he said that he was not jealous of Qin Shujian's breakthrough to the Tao fruit realm. However, Chu Kuangtu was the reincarnation of a Tao fruit after all. As soon as this thought arose, he quickly suppressed it. Jealousy was the most useless thing. The fact that the other party could break through meant that he had absolute strength. As long as there is no final war, no one can threaten the heavenly court. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. The confidence on his face did not diminish. Then he looked at the two people in front of him. You are now stuck at the 7th level of the immortal realm. This is not a solution. I have comprehended the power of time. When the time comes, I will set up a time formation for you. I think it will be enough for you to reach the 9th level of the immortal realm. I can't guarantee that you will be able to reach your peak in the future. The time formation was a shortcut to cultivation, but the drawbacks were equally obvious. In the time formation, one's lifespan would decrease at an extremely fast rate. If one could not get rid of the shackles of lifespan, their lifespan would end as soon as they broke through. After all, cultivating in the time formation was different from cultivating in the outside world. The former required more time. A cultivator with outstanding talent. If it took 30 to 50,000 years to break through to the 9th level of the immortal realm in a normal environment, it might take 200 to 300,000 years in the time formation. Cultivating in seclusion. It was normal to get half the result with twice the effort. Only Tao fruit reincarnations like Chu Kuangtu and Niodali, who had plucked the past and future, and whose lifespan was much longer than ordinary perfected immortals, dared to use the time formation to cultivate. The time formation is indeed good. Niodali nodded and immediately asked, Your Majesty, how much time flow can you set up? Before I broke through, it was not a big problem for me to have a ratio of 1 to 10,000. Now that I've broken through to the Tao fruit realm, I can also achieve a ratio of 1 to 30 to 50,000. Qin Shujian pondered for a moment before giving an answer. He said it casually. But when Shu Kuangtu and Niu Dali heard it, it was a little shocking. 1 to 30 to 50,000. In other words, cultivating in the time formation for 30 to 50,000 years was only 1 year in the outside world. Niu Dali sucked in a breath of cold air. Your Majesty, your control of time is actually so strong. If there is really such a time formation, I will need at most a year in the outside world to recover part of my previous strength. With tens of thousands of years as a buffer, it should not be a problem for him to break through to the Dao Fruit Realm, but to advance to the half-step Dao Fruit Realm. If that doesn't work, it was 100% possible for him to advance to the 9th level of the Immortal Realm. With his foundation, once he advanced to the 9th level of the Immortal Realm, he could even fight against a half-step Dao Fruit Realm cultivator. Shu Kuangtu's thoughts were similar to Niu Dali's. They did not lack lifespan. What they lacked was time. If they had the help of the time formation, then a lot of things could be directly skipped. Your Majesty, if you can set up the time formation, I can break through to the 9th level of the Immortal Realm, or even the half-step Dao Fruit Realm in a year at most. But I can't guarantee that I can advance to the Dao Fruit Realm. Whether I can advance to the Dao Fruit Realm or not depends on my opportunity.
Yes.
Shu Kuangtu nodded and then asked, Your Majesty, now that you have broken through to the Dao Fruit Realm, are you planning to attack the Demon Abyss? He still remembered. Qin Shujian wanted to ask the two of them to attack the Demon Abyss together. Chapter 9:27. We'll talk about attacking the Demon Abyss in a year or two. Qin Shujian shook his head and didn't waste too much time on this issue. Next, the three of them chatted for a while.
Then,
Qin Shujian had personally set up a sizable time formation in their palace. It was different from before the breakthrough. At that time, he had shrunk the formation to the size of a seat, and only then could it achieve a time flow rate of 1 to 10,000.
but now,
Even if he set up a formation the size of a palace, it could still achieve a time flow rate of 1 to 10,000. Of course, even if it was shrunk, it would still be in the same speed range. After the breakthrough, Qin Shujian's methods were no longer comparable to those of the past. After doing all these things, he left the Great Thousand World and headed to the Outer Realm. This time, Qin Shujian didn't go through the passage of heaven and earth. Instead, he used his tyrannical strength to ignore the seal of the heaven and earth barrier and directly went into the Outer Realm. The heaven and earth barrier was a self-protection method of the Great Thousand World, but that was only one of its uses. The true purpose of the heaven and earth barrier wasn't to protect the world, but to absorb the power of the Outer Realm and transform it into the spirit chi that the world needed to grow. Therefore, the defensive power of the heaven and earth barrier wasn't that strong. As long as one was a half-step Dao fruit expert, they were qualified to break the barrier. As for Dao fruit experts, they were existences that could ignore the heaven and earth barrier. Leaving the Great Thousand World, Qin Shujian took a simple step and crossed hundreds of millions of miles of the void and directly appeared in front of a floating blood-colored continent. The moment he appeared, the blood-colored continent shook wildly as if it felt a strong threat. The blood-colored color inside surged wildly and turned into a giant hand that covered hundreds of millions of miles of the void and suddenly came down. The huge commotion caused the void outside to tremble. When the cultivators who were exploring the void saw the bloody hand that covered everything, their faces turned pale with fright. Oh no, something big has happened.
run.
CK, didn't you say that the Outer Realm is very safe? How could something like this happen? The cultivators' faces turned green as they fled frantically in all directions. In front of the blood-colored hand, no matter what realm a cultivator was at, they felt like ants. That feeling. It was as if as long as the bloody hand fell, he would definitely turn into ashes. However, the crimson hand spanned hundreds of millions of kilometers. No matter how the cultivators fled, they were unable to escape from the crimson hand. At this moment, the bloody hand had already descended. That terrifying aura caused the cultivator's flesh and blood to freeze. just when they thought they were going to die. In front of the Scarlet Continent, Qin Shu Jian stretched out a finger unhurriedly and tapped on the blood-red giant hand. In an instant, the giant blood-red hand suddenly dissipated. "How dare you embarrass yourself in front of me with such petty tricks?" Qin Shu Jian shook his head slowly after destroying the giant blood-red hand with a single finger. His face was filled with disdain. Mo Yuan's attack couldn't be said to be weak. If he hadn't broken through to the Dao Fruit Realm, it wouldn't have been easy for him to receive the attack with his half-step Dao Fruit Realm strength. However, things were different now. A Dao Fruit was a Dao Fruit. It was not something a half-step Dao Fruit could compare to. Just one step, and the difference between heaven and earth was like heaven and earth. The power that could make a half-step Dao Fruit Realm cultivator wary was nothing in front of a true Dao Fruit. It was just a casual tap of the finger. It was destroyed quietly. Emperor Heaven is mighty. Godslayer finally said in his sea of consciousness after holding back for a long time. Even though he was in his sea of consciousness, he could still feel how terrifying that giant hand was. Even so, that giant hand was destroyed by Qin Shu Jian with a single tap of the finger. This kind of strength had completely exceeded his expectations. What was a Dao Fruit? To be honest, Godslayer didn't know at all. It wasn't until Qin Shu Jian displayed his strength that he truly saw the difference between a Dao Fruit Realm and a Dao Fruit Realm cultivator. He destroyed the bloody hand with a single tap of the finger. Qin Shu Jian wasn't complacent. Given his current strength, he had completely surpassed the peak of the Third Era and was comparable to an ancient god of the First Era. No matter how powerful Mo Yuan was, he couldn't be compared to an ancient god. Therefore, it was normal for the demonic abyss to attack. It would be strange if it couldn't do it. Standing in the void with his hands behind his back, Qin Shu Jian's gaze fell on Mo Yuan. It was covered in blood. In the eyes of outsiders, it was a floating continent, but in his eyes, it was the corpse of a fallen Dao Fruit Realm cultivator. Which Dao Fruit Realm cultivator died? His corpse actually remained in this era. Could it really be a backup plan of some unknown Dao Fruit Realm cultivator? Looking at Mo Yuan, Qin Shu Jian's thoughts had drifted far away. At his level, the only people worthy of his attention were those who were at the same level as him. In front of him was the corpse of a fallen Dao Fruit Realm cultivator. Qin Shu Jian wasn't sure if the other party had truly died. After all, it wasn't easy for an expert of this level to truly die. Moreover, ordinary Dao Fruit Realm cultivators would basically turn into ashes without leaving any traces behind. But now, with a corpse left behind, he wouldn't believe that there was nothing wrong with it. However, although he had doubts in his heart, he didn't immediately attack Mo Yuan. Anyway, he had already broken through. Mo Yuan was just a small problem. According to the current trend, Mo Yuan would officially collide with the vast thousand worlds in a while. After thinking about it, Qin Shu Jian turned and left. He decided not to attack Mo Yuan for the time being. When the time was right, he would lead the experts of the Heavenly Court to attack. For the myriad races, Mo Yuan was a shadow branded in their blood. Even if he destroyed Mo Yuan, it wouldn't boost the morale of the myriad races. On the contrary, if he personally led the myriad races to attack Mo Yuan and then destroyed Mo Yuan in one fell swoop, then the myriad races' fear of Mo Yuan would be completely eliminated. At that time, the morale of the myriad races would definitely be greatly boosted. In Qin Shu Jian's view, the morale of the myriad races was very important. Mo Yuan is just a small problem. With my current strength, it won't be any trouble to destroy Mo Yuan. On the contrary, the battle with the real world in the future is the real highlight. Mo Yuan might as well stay and serve as a whetstone for the myriad races. When the myriad races are honed into an invincible divine weapon, the chances of winning the battle in the future will be greater. Although in the eyes of Dao Fruit Realm cultivators, those below Dao Fruit Realm were ants, it didn't mean that Dao Fruit Realm cultivators could completely ignore the myriad races. On the contrary, at certain critical moments, the myriad races could play a greater role. When Qin Shu Jian left Mo Yuan's range,
Inside Emoyuan.
A group of awakened demon gods and ancient demon gods finally calmed down from their trembling state. Chapter 928. The Demon Abyss. Many ancient demon gods who were in deep slumber had awakened. Under the suppression of the ancient demon gods, the demons who had been killing each other had stopped. If they were to be ranked, then the ancient demon gods would be the first. Below them, they were followed by the demon gods and the ordinary demons. However, the ancient demon gods in the demon abyss were frozen on the spot. They looked up at the blood moon with horror in their eyes. That aura is so powerful, it can shake the demon abyss. When did the universe give birth to such a terrifying expert?
Hiss.
That aura made the ancient demon gods feel like they were no different from ants. Ever since they were born, some of the powerful ancient demon gods had never felt that way before. They even suspected that the mysterious existence outside the demon abyss was going to break the demon abyss.
But now,
the aura gradually faded, and the ancient demon gods breathed a sigh of relief. After the shock, some of the ancient demon gods were in disbelief. Impossible. The universe can't give birth to such an expert. It must be the universe's own power that leaked out. Otherwise, if such an expert appeared near the demon abyss, why didn't he break the demon abyss? Hearing that, some of the ancient demon gods nodded in agreement. It was not that they did not want to believe it, but it was too shocking. A power that could make them, as ancient demon gods, feel like ants. What kind of level was that? It was completely beyond their knowledge. Yes, there can't be such an expert in the universe. It seemed that this was the only way to make them feel at ease. At the same time, an aura as vast as the abyss rose from the bottom of the demon abyss. The aura rose, and the entire demon abyss shook violently. All the ancient demon gods who had awakened were shocked when they sensed the power. They were shocked and surprised. This aura is the aura of the eternal ancient demon god. The eternal ancient demon god is waking up from his deep slumber. Some of the ancient demon gods were shocked. The eternal ancient demon god was an existence that stood at the top of the ancient demon gods. There were only a few ancient demon gods who could be compared to him. In front of the aura that shook the demon abyss, even the awakened ancient demon gods were trembling. So strong. The immortal fiend celestial, who was hiding somewhere in the demon abyss, felt the terrifying aura and did not dare to move. Ever since the awakening of the ancient god fiends, this newly advanced fiend celestial kept a much lower profile. No matter how hard the immortal demon god racked his brains, he would never have imagined that an ancient demon god would awaken from a deep slumber just a few years after he had become a demon god. It didn't matter if the ancient demon god woke up. But after those ancient demon gods woke up, the other demon gods instantly fell from the top. All these years, there were already quite a number of unlucky demon gods who had been captured by the ancient demon gods. It could be said that in front of an ancient demon god, the demon god was no different from an ant. Killing a demon god was just a piece of cake for him. Since then, the immortal devil god had kept a low profile. If he could not move, he would not move. He was a silent, transparent devil god. Perhaps it was because he was too low-key, or perhaps it was because the ancient demon gods had no appetite for skeletons. After the immortal demon god kept a low profile, he did not encounter any trouble. But now, the aura that made the demon abyss tremble rose, and made him feel a great threat. No, I can't stay in the demon abyss any longer. In the eyes of those ancient demon gods, we demon gods are dispensable. Maybe one day, disaster will befall me. The immortal demon god shook his head. He did not want to stay in the demon abyss any longer. This place was really too dangerous. If it was possible, he would rather leave the demon abyss and go to the vast thousand domains. Staying in the demon abyss is a dead end. If I leave the vast thousand domains, there may be a chance of survival. The immortal demon god recalled the strength of the vast thousand domains. From the words of some demons who had been reborn, he had a greater understanding of the vast thousand domains. In today's vast thousand domains, the human race was already the weakest. At most. It was just that there were a bunch of celestial beings. With his original strength, it was definitely impossible for him to sweep across the celestial being realm. But now that many ancient demon gods had awakened, the power of the demon abyss had become active, causing his own realm to rise rapidly. Until now, the immortal demon god had firmly stopped at the celestial being realm. He felt proud. With his strength at the celestial being realm and the means of the demon gods, he could definitely occupy a place in the vast thousand domains, even if he could not sweep across the human race. Soon, in a while, the blood moon should have some movement. The immortal demon gods stared at the blood moon in the sky. Every once in a while, the blood moon would have some movement, which was the passage to the vast thousand domains. And the closer the demon abyss was to the vast thousand domains, the more frequent the blood moon's movements were. Now there would be a movement almost every 3 to 5 days. But because of the order of the ancient demon gods and the demon abyss, it would not be long before it collided with the vast thousand domains. So even if the blood moon had some movement, no demon dared to act rashly. At this moment, the aura that made the demon abyss tremble gradually stopped. Then there was a roar that shook the demon abyss crazily. As for the weaker evil spirits, they were all very strong. With this roar, their physical bodies exploded and fell, and then they were resurrected in the demon abyss. The immortal ancient demon god. An ancient demon god's voice trembled. Looking at the huge body, his eyes were full of fear. That body, it looked no different from the human race. But its eyes were strange green and red. When its gaze fell on an ancient demon god, it immediately made the ancient demon god's physical body explode, and he coughed up blood and retreated. "I'm finally back." A voice like a large bell echoed in the demon abyss. Sleeping for countless years, the most powerful of the ancient demon gods did not recover his memories immediately after he woke up. Until now, this ancient demon god had truly awakened. Where are Sky Saint and Night Emperor? Are they still sleeping? The immortal ancient demon god looked at a trembling ancient demon god and asked calmly. Hearing this, the ancient demon god trembled as he replied, "Sky Saint ancient demon god and Night Emperor ancient demon god are still asleep." "I see." The immortal ancient demon god nodded in realization. Then, he stretched out a hand and directly grabbed the ancient demon god who replied, "Immortal ancient demon god, spare my life." The ancient demon god, who was considered powerful, was now being held in his hand without any resistance. To this, the immortal ancient demon god's expression did not change. He directly opened his mouth and swallowed the ancient demon god. Chapter 929. After chewing for a while, he swallowed it. The taste is not bad. It's a bit chewy. The eternal life ancient god had a satisfied look on his face, and then his gaze fell on the other ancient demon gods. At that moment, all the ancient demon gods turned around and fled. Fortunately, the demon abyss was big enough. Otherwise, they would not have been able to escape. Seeing this, the eternal life ancient demon god did not chase after them. It seemed that he was already full after devouring the ancient demon god. At that moment, another vast aura rose from the depths of the demon abyss. The two auras came at the same time, shaking the demon abyss violently. The eternal life ancient demon god turned his head to look at the source of the two auras, and a strange smile appeared on his face. "I knew that you wouldn't sleep for too long. I didn't expect you to wake up as soon as I woke up." He was very familiar with the two auras. On the other side, the eternal life ancient demon god was trembling. When he saw the ancient demon gods being devoured like ants, he already knew that he could not stay in the demon abyss any longer. At that moment, another two auras rose, and his expression changed drastically. Ancient demon god Sky Saint and ancient demon god Night Emperor. How could the eternal life ancient demon god be unfamiliar with these two auras? In fact, any demon in the demon abyss had existed for countless years. Some demons and demon gods were very weak and could not be compared to the ancient demon gods at all. That was because of their talent and the fact that they had died too many times. When it came to knowledge, the demon gods were not necessarily weaker than the powerful ancient demon gods. Therefore, the eternal life ancient demon god was also very clear about how many powerful beings there were in the demon abyss. The eternal life ancient demon god, the ancient demon god Sky Saint, and the ancient demon god Night Emperor were the three most powerful ancient demon gods in the demon abyss. During the ancient war, Yi Zichen was still in a daze. The three ancient demon gods had suffered great losses and eventually fell into a deep sleep. It was also because of the three ancient demon gods that the vast thousand world was completely defeated. Now that the three ancient demon gods had awakened, it meant that the power of the demon abyss had completely recovered to a peak state. At that moment, the blood moon shook. The eternal life ancient demon god did not dare to hesitate. He immediately appeared from the dark and pounced in the direction of the strange movement. He could not stay in the demon abyss. Now, he could only head to the great thousand world and search for a chance of survival. No one had expected that a demon god would dare to disobey the ancient demon god's orders under such circumstances. As for the ancient demon gods who had given orders, they were now fleeing in all directions in fear of the immortal ancient demon god. They did not have the spare energy to deal with the immortal ancient demon god. For various reasons, the immortal demon god left the demon abyss without any hindrance. On the other side, after observing the demon abyss for a while, Qin Shujian returned to the great thousand world. The current him regarded the barriers of heaven and earth as nothing. In less than a moment, he appeared in the heavenly court. Very soon, all the immortals and deities in the four continents received the news immediately. Immediately, one by one, the powerhouses of the myriad races headed toward the heavenly court. Not long after, the officials had gathered in the inner hall of the heavenly palace. Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. You may dispense with the formalities. Thank you, Emperor of Heaven. The deities straightened up. Some of them wanted to look up at Qin Shujian, but when their eyes fell on him, they felt an endless pressure that forced them to lower their heads again. Whether it was the 5 imperial emperors or the 4 war gods. At this moment, they could not look directly at the emperor's throne above. In response, many immortals and deities were shocked. What a powerful aura! Xiao Qingfeng's heart wavered. As a top powerhouse of the ancient heavenly court, he had never truly admired any powerhouse.
But now,
Xiao Qingfeng, however, was convinced. They did not even have the right to look at him. It was clear how powerful Qin Shujian was. Because of this, he was certain that the other party must have broken through to the rumored Dao fruit realm. At this moment, none of the deities dared to speak, causing the hall to fall into silence. After a long while, Qin Shujian said calmly, I have been in seclusion for a few years and have made some gains. It just so happens that I have broken through the threshold of the Dao fruit realm. Now, the heavenly court has a chance of winning against the demon abyss. Therefore, I have decided that in a year, the heavenly court will officially attack the demon abyss. In ancient times, the demon abyss attacked the great thousand world, causing the heavenly court to collapse and countless races to die. This blood feud has been accumulating for millions of years, and it is time to settle it. Attack the demon abyss.
no?
All the deities' attention was on the 2 words Dao fruit. The monster emperor was shocked and could not help but ask, has the Emperor of Heaven really broken through to the rumored Dao fruit realm? Dao fruit. That was a powerhouse that had never been born in this era. If he had not heard from Qin Shujian, he would not have known that there was a realm above the true immortal realm. Hearing the monster emperor's question, the other immortals and deities also pricked up their ears. They could not look directly at Qin Shujian on the throne and could only look straight ahead. That's right. Qin Shujian nodded slightly. These 2 simple words had already explained some things. Regarding this, the deities' hearts were shaken again. Qin Shujian did not care and directly skipped the topic of Dao fruit. I hope that all races will be prepared for the attack on the demon abyss in a year's time. The million-year blood feud has already been engraved in the bloodline inheritance. If the blood feud is not washed away, all races will never be able to get rid of the fear brought by the demon abyss. As soon as he finished speaking, Emperor Zhao cupped his hands. Emperor of Heaven's words are reasonable. Now that the human race is already prepared for war, they are only waiting for the Emperor of Heaven's order, and the human race's army will march straight to the demon abyss. The demon race is also ready to fight at any time. The Nine-Headed Hound clan is ready to fight at any time. The Moon clan is ready to fight at any time. The demon race, all the deities bowed and declared war without prior agreement. For a moment, a murderous aura filled the hall. Seeing everyone's attitude, Qin Shujin nodded in satisfaction. I am gratified that all of you are willing to fight. A few years ago, I also said that the Heavenly Court would establish the 3,000 divine generals. Now is the time. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and the investiture of the gods, which had been lying quietly on the table, suddenly flew into the air. All the deities raised their heads, and their gazes fell on the investiture of the gods. The investiture of the gods expanded in the wind and became dozens of feet in size. Countless light spots rose from it and then scattered toward the 4 major continents. At that moment, the experts of the 4 major continents all sensed something and raised their heads to look at the sky. They happened to see countless light spots falling like meteors. Before they could react, they saw those light spots land on some of the experts. The moment the light spots landed, the same message appeared in the minds of those experts who received the light spots. 3,000 divine generals. Chapter 930. 3,000 divine generals. Qin Yuanbai looked at the information in his mind, and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. He didn't expect that. He was just sitting in the Heaven Origin Saint, and a deity position would come to him. After a short moment of shock, he was ecstatic. Deity position. Any one of them was extremely precious. Even if the 3,000 divine generals were the lowest among all the deity positions, it was still not something that ordinary treasures could compare to. Among other things, after getting the deity position, Qin Yuanbai found that the surrounding heaven and earth spirit qi was flocking to him all the time. At the same time, his understanding of the heaven and earth law had become much stronger. 3,000 divine generals. With this deity position, I might really have the chance to step into the middle 3 true immortal realm in the future. Qin Yuanbai's eyes lit up. Originally, with his aptitude, he was able to break through to the true immortal realm because of the infusion of star power. After successfully breaking through, it was almost impossible for him to improve further. But now that he got the deity position, Qin Yuanbai suddenly found that he seemed to have the hope of improving further.
No.
It was not as simple as improving further. He was now only at the 1st level immortal realm, the weakest among the true immortals. But after getting the deity position, he had the hope of becoming a middle 3 true immortal realm. In other words, his final achievement would be at least a 4th level immortal realm. The gap between the 1st level immortal realm and the 4th level immortal realm was not small at all. At the same time when Qin Yuanbai got the deity position, Zheng Fang, who was in Yuan sect, was also a little shocked. Just a moment ago, a light fell on his body.
Suddenly,
a strong aura was emitted from his body. This aura fluctuation made Yuan sect tremble slightly. All the experts of Yuan sect immediately came out of their secluded places and gathered towards the source of the aura. Great Elder, what's going on? Is the Great Elder about to break through to the true immortal realm? Many experts of Yuan sect rushed over and looked at Zheng Fang, who was emitting Dao runes, with a shocked look on their faces. Hearing that, Zheng Fang smiled slightly. I just got the deity position and can break through the threshold of the true immortal realm. I will start breaking through later. How much you can see will depend on your luck. Grand Elder is really going to break through to the true immortal realm. Su Yuan was visibly excited. The Origin sect was a top-notch sect. Furthermore, it was a sect that was personally created by the Emperor of Heaven. However, up till now, not a single true immortal had been born. If one were to say that it wasn't awkward, that would be a lie. After all, there were so many sects in the human race. Some of the top sects already had true immortals. In comparison, Sky Origin sect did not have a single true immortal and was undoubtedly at a disadvantage. There were even rumors in the human tribe that Sky Origin sect had fallen into decline after leaving Qin Shujian. Now that Jing Fong had started to break through, to Yuanzong it was an extremely good thing. Sung Hong nodded. If Grand Elder can break through to the true immortal realm, the rumors in recent years will be dispelled. Once a true immortal appeared, regardless of the method used to break through, it would be able to restore Yuan sect's prestige.
To be honest,
He also wanted to break through to the true immortal realm. Unfortunately, his aptitude was limited. Until now, he had been stuck at the celestial being limit realm. In fact, there was no lack of experts at the heavenly being limit in Yuan sect. However, there was not a single person who could truly take that step. There was no other way. Whether it was Tsing Hong, Su Yuanming, or Zheng Fong, they were all martial artists at the body-tempering realm. Their aptitude and talent could only be said to be very ordinary. It was all thanks to the blessings given by Qin Shujian that they were able to get to where they were today. However, no matter how good the blessings were, being able to advance to the celestial being limit was really the limit. One more step. No one dared to guarantee that they would definitely succeed. Knowing that Zheng Fong was about to break through, everyone's face was filled with joy. In the crowd, Zhang Ergo looked envious. Grand Elder is about to break through too. I really want to see what the true immortal realm is like. The Good Yuan ancestral canon was really too good at improving. After killing a large number of beasts in the Sea of Death, he barely managed to advance to the 8th level of the celestial being level. Compared to the true immortal realm, the 8th level of the celestial being level was still a few small realms away. Unless he could kill a few true immortal beasts, he felt that it would definitely not be so easy for him to break through. As soon as he finished speaking, the Qiankuan Bao on his back couldn't help but interject, "There's no need to be envious. Although you're only at the 8th level of the celestial being level, you already have the ability to kill immortals. When the time comes, you'll be able to break through after entering the Sea of Death and killing again." Zhang Ergu was stunned for a moment before he immediately understood. Indeed, there was no need for him to be envious of Zheng Fong's breakthrough now. Although he was still a long way away from becoming a true immortal in terms of true strength, he was actually not weaker than an ordinary true immortal. It was just that without really fighting, Zhang Ergu didn't dare to be very sure. On the other side, Zheng Fong had already begun to break through. The vast long river of laws appeared out of nowhere. The huge sound immediately attracted the attention of the human race powerhouses. A true immortal is going to appear in Yuan sect. Qin Yuanbai raised his head and looked at the sky. His expression was calm, and no one could tell if he was happy, angry, or sad. In his opinion, it was inevitable that a true immortal would appear in Yuan sect. No matter what, Yuan sect was a sect that Qin Shujian had single-handedly created. Now that he was the Emperor of Heaven, there was no reason for him not to support Yuan sect. Even if the people of Yuan sect were really unworthy, the Emperor of Heaven would definitely think of a way to create a few true immortals for Yuan sect. Now that Zheng Fong had broken through, there was no doubt that this was the case. However, what if you can break through to the true immortal realm? With your talent, the upper limit is too low. Qin Yuanbai shook his head. He didn't care about Zheng Fong's breakthrough at all. Breaking through to the true immortal realm by force and breaking through naturally were two extremes. While Zheng Fong was breaking through, the other powerhouses who had obtained the divine throne and were at the peak of the heavenly human realm all began to break through to the true immortal realm at the same time. In an instant, vast waves of energy continued to spread. When they intertwined, they had already covered the entire 4 continents. Why are there so many powerhouses breaking through to the true immortal realm today? This is really strange. Who knows? Those heavenly human realm cultivators were so envious that their eyes turned red as they watched the true immortals break through to the true immortal realm one by one. To them, the true immortal realm was their lifelong pursuit. After all, most races didn't have long lifespans. Only by breaking through to the true immortal realm could they enjoy a lifespan of 129,600 years. Although their lifespan was still limited, it was already much better than the lifespan of a heavenly human realm cultivator. Not long after, strange phenomena appeared between heaven and earth. Golden flowers scattered and golden lotuses surged. Every time one of the anomalies disappeared, a new one would appear. After 2 or 3 days, all the strange phenomena gradually disappeared. At this moment, there were already a few thousand more true immortals among the myriad races. Chapter 931. Heavenly Courts. After the deity position was conferred, thousands of names appeared on the god roll. At the same time, the power of the deity position caused the god roll to undergo another transformation. If the previous deity roll was only comparable to the 6th tribulation Zubing, then the god roll, with 3,000 divine generals, was already comparable to the top 7th tribulation Zubing. Even if it did not reach the 8th tribulation level, it was not far away. He stretched out his hand. The god roll fell back into his hand. Qin Shujian was very satisfied with the transformation of this divine weapon. The god roll was a divine weapon with growth potential. As long as the immortal god who left his name was stronger, its power would be greater. In other words, if the strength of the immortals and gods collectively doubled, the god roll would directly reach the 8th tribulation Zubing. If some of the immortals and gods on the roll reached the upper 3 true immortals, then the god roll would definitely be able to advance to a level comparable to the 9th tribulation Zubing. Similarly, what if all the immortals and gods advanced to the upper 3 true immortals? Qin Shujian had a premonition. The god roll might be able to surpass the limit of the 9th tribulation Zubing. One had to know. No matter which era it was, the 9th tribulation Zubing and the Khanate cardinal treasure were the limits of divine weapons. There had always been many Khanate cardinal treasures that wanted to break this limit, but they all failed in the end. However, in Qin Shujian's opinion, the god roll had the potential to break the limit. Moreover, the possibility of the other party breaking the limit was much greater than that of Zhou Tian's star map, who was already at the 9th tribulation Zubing level. Congratulations, Emperor of Heaven, for obtaining another divine weapon. Seeing the transformation of the god roll, some immortals and gods immediately bowed and congratulated. Qin Shujian smiled. The 3,000 divine generals have been established, and the heavenly court's deity positions can be supplemented. I once said that any living being who can advance to the 3rd realm of the Grandmaster realm within 10 years will be conferred a deity position. If not, a selection competition will be held. The winner will be conferred a deity position. There is only about a year left before the 10-year period. Are there any 3rd realm Grandmasters among the myriad races? As soon as he finished speaking, the deities exchanged glances. It was more difficult to become a Grandmaster than for a Celestial to become a true immortal. Even though they were all carefully nurturing them, none of them had reached the 3rd realm yet. While all the gods were silent, Emperor Zhao stepped forward, cupped his hands, and said, "Emperor of Heaven, Su Zhan of the human race has already attained the 3rd realm of Blacksmith Grandmaster." At the same time, Feng Xinglan of the human race has attained the 3rd realm of Array Dao Grandmaster. I think that these two people are qualified to be conferred a godhood. Hearing this, before Qin Shujian could say anything, the faces of the gods turned gloomy. According to the original plan, just like that, the human race was about to take away 2 deity positions. Furthermore, these 2 deity positions were not something that the 3,000 deity positions could compare to. Most of the immortals and gods present didn't want the 2 deity thrones to fall into the hands of the humans. However, they wanted to stop him, but they didn't have a reason to. Qin Shujian had already promised to confer the deity position from the very beginning. At this time, even if they objected, it would not be of much use. That's right. A smile appeared on Qin Shujian's face. Then, he saw the investiture of the gods that had landed on the table fly into the air again. His smile disappeared. He looked at the gods and said in a clear voice, Suzhan of the human race has attained the third realm of blacksmith grandmaster. He is unparalleled in the Tao of blacksmithing, and no one can surpass him. Therefore, I confer him the title of Artifact Ancestor. All the blacksmithing cultivators in the world will respect the Artifact Ancestor. As soon as he finished speaking, Suzhan's name appeared on the investiture of the gods. Immediately afterward, that name turned into a ray of dim light and shot toward the humans of the East Continent. Great Zhao Royal Capital. Imperial Astronomer. Suzhan was originally forging a divine weapon when he suddenly felt something and couldn't help but pause. In the next breath, the dim light fell and entered his body. The free spirit qi in the world gathered crazily, and the half-finished divine weapon that was originally being forged was directly completed at this moment. Rumble. The mother stream of laws appeared. Suzhan's figure appeared directly in the mother stream. All the cultivators in the world who cultivated the Tao of blacksmithing felt something and bowed to Suzhan. Greetings, Artifact Ancestor. Yuan Sect. Shen Yuqing straightened up with a very complicated expression. Artifact Ancestor. When Suzhan was conferred the Artifact Ancestor deity position, the corresponding information appeared in his mind. He understood that someone had broken through to the third realm of Grandmaster and was thus conferred the title of Artifact Ancestor. Just a little more, and the deity position of Artifact Ancestor would have been mine. Shen Yuqing smiled bitterly. Only he knew how great the gap in his heart was. He was very talented in the Tao of blacksmithing to begin with. After joining Yuan Sect, he focused on cultivating the Tao of blacksmithing. Now, he had completely surpassed the ancestors of the Alchemy Sect and reached the Grandmaster Blacksmith realm that the Alchemy Sect had never had before. Moreover, he was a second realm Grandmaster Blacksmith. It could be said that, given another 10 years, Shen Yuqing was confident that he could advance to the third realm. He was originally prepared to participate in the Heavenly Court selection once the 10 years were up, and if no one advanced to the third realm, he would use his own methods to obtain the deity position. However, now that Suzhan was conferred the deity position, it directly shattered Shen Yuqing's inner extravagant hopes. He calmed himself down. Shen Yuqing left the forging room and walked elsewhere. Senior sister. I got the news that Suzhan of the Imperial Astronomer has broken through to the third realm and obtained the deity position. When he arrived, Shen Yuhua had already spoken first. After a pause, she comforted him again. Although you didn't get the deity position with your talent, there is a great chance that you can break through the threshold of the Grandmaster realm and advance to the rumored Saint realm in the future. Senior sister, you must be joking? Shen Yuqing shook his head and smiled. Although the deity position is precious to me, it's not a pity to lose it. The purpose of my visit this time is to talk to senior sister about something else. Something else? There was some doubt on Shen Yuhua's pretty face. Many years had passed, but time had not left too many traces on her body. She had only lost some of her youthfulness and gained a bit of a mature charm. Shen Yuqing said, Senior sister, you also saw what happened in the Qianyuan sacred ground just now. The deity positions of Array Dao and blacksmithing have been conferred, but there has been no movement for the deity position of alchemy. In my opinion, no third realm alchemy grandmaster has been born. Senior sister, you are now a second realm alchemy grandmaster. If you can't break through to the third realm in a year, then you have a high chance of winning the competition in the Heavenly Court. As long as you obtain the deity position, then my regret of losing the deity position can be made up for. There was no hope for Array Dao, and there was no hope for blacksmithing either. After thinking about it, only the deity position of alchemy had some hope. Soon. Shen Yuqing added another sentence. Whether it is the human race or the myriad races, alchemy has long declined. With senior sister's current foundation, it won't be difficult for you to stand out. Chapter 932. I understand what you mean. Actually, I don't have much of a way to win. We'll see when the time comes. Xinyuhua shook her head slightly. How could she not know that her junior brother wanted her to compete for the deity position? In the end, they didn't forget that they were from the alchemy sect. The alchemy sect. They were famous for their alchemy and forging skills. Now that they didn't have any hope of winning in forging, they were only left with alchemy. Looking at Shun Yuqing's expression, Xinyuhua continued, "From today onwards, I'll go into seclusion to prepare for the deity position next year." Okay. Shun Yuqing smiled. "Senior sister, if you need anything, just tell me. I'll definitely help you if I can. Also, if the sect knows that you're confident of winning, they'll definitely help you. I don't need anything. At this stage, resources won't be of much use. In that case, I won't disturb senior sister." Okay. After Shun Yuqing left, Xinyuhua announced that she would go into seclusion. For some reason, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in her mind. The gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. What's the use of thinking so much? It's just a futile effort. Xinyuhua's face was a little gloomy. Soon after, she pulled herself together again. If I can win and get the deity position, I can shorten the gap. Thinking of this, Xinyuhua immediately went into seclusion with peace of mind. On the other side, Fang Xinglan also officially broke through successfully. Obtaining the deity position of the array ancestor allowed his cultivation to directly step into the true immortal realm. In addition, when he broke through, he also gained a great understanding of the array Dao. He directly broke through from the original third realm to the legendary Saint Realm. So this is the Saint Realm. Fang Xinglan looked at the scene in front of him with a surprised expression. The world was still the same, but in his eyes, there was a great change. For example, in the eyes of outsiders, the sky looked normal, but in Fang Xinglan's eyes, he could see many array patterns intertwined. So the world is actually a huge array. At this moment, Fang Xinglan understood a lot of things. Although a formation grandmaster could also create a small world, such a small world was actually incomplete. However, after breaking through to the Saint Realm and comprehending the origin of array Dao, one would have the qualifications to open up a true small world. For a moment, he had gained a lot of things. Right at this moment, somewhere in the eastern continent, a new area was born. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the unstable void. Endless demonic chi leaked out from it, trying to pollute everything around it. The evil demon was born. The commotion immediately caused the expressions of some cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the region's growth to change drastically. Report this to the imperial court immediately. An evil spirit has been born. Send a message to the Holy Land. Tell them that an evil demon has appeared. Hurry. When the cultivators discovered that an evil spirit was about to appear, they reacted immediately. Although the human race was very strong now, the shadow of the evil demons still remained in their hearts. Therefore, now that an evil spirit had appeared, their first reaction was to immediately report it to their superiors and wait for them to send experts over to suppress the evil spirit. After the panic, soon, some experts came to their senses. Everyone don't panic. Although the evil spirit is terrifying, its strength is only SOSO. Historically, the weakest evil spirits that have appeared were only at the first or second level of the celestial being realm, and the strongest were only at the almighty demon god realm. Now, among all of us, although there aren't many almighty cultivators, there are still quite a number of them. Even if a demon god appears, we might not be unable to fight against it. His words, it directly startled the others. That's right. We have no problem fighting against a demon god with our strength, unless an evil spirit of the perfected immortal realm appears. Phew, then let's prepare for war. No problem. Today, I also want to see how powerful the rumored evil spirits are. Those cultivators who reacted not only did not show any fear on their faces, but instead revealed eager expressions. The human race was very strong now. There were endless perfected immortal experts and countless celestial being cultivators. It was completely different from the situation in the past when celestial being was the top. As such, Those evil spirits that were originally feared, with their current strength, there was no need to be afraid at all. At this moment, when a large amount of demonic chi leaked out, a huge body directly squeezed out from it. The body was so huge that it was almost indomitable. A monstrous demonic chi surged and swept in all directions like a wave. What a strong demonic chi! This evil spirit is at least above the 9th level of the celestial being realm. It might even be a demon god at the peak of the celestial being realm. The cultivators who were waiting at the side all had slight changes in their expressions. The peak of the celestial being realm. Its strength was indeed not weak. However, when they saw the strength of the evil spirit that appeared, they were completely relieved. The peak of the celestial being realm was not weak, but if only one evil spirit at the peak of the celestial being realm was born, then it was not a problem at all. I'm finally back. The immortal demon god breathed in the air of the great wide world and let out a deafening sound. He cheered. He jumped for joy. He had finally escaped from that damned place, the demon abyss. With his strength at the peak of the celestial being realm, there was absolutely no one in the human race who could contend with him. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if there were really powerhouses at the peak of the celestial being realm, they would at most be able to contend with him. It was absolutely impossible for them to suppress him. Just as the immortal demon god was preparing to make plans for his future, boom. The void suddenly shattered. More than a dozen extremely tyrannical forces instantly shattered everything and bombarded him. He was caught off guard. The immortal demon god was bombarded and staggered back. The white bone armor on his body also cracked a lot. How can there be such a demon god powerhouse? The immortal demon god was shocked. Looking at the dozen or so human powerhouses who were charging toward him, he could not react for a moment. He was a little doubtful if he had seen wrongly. Every one of those people exuded a tyrannical and terrifying aura. That kind of aura, it was completely comparable to a demon god. That's not right. Aren't there no more powerhouses in the human race?
Why?
Why are there so many demon god-level powerhouses guarding here? Could it be that they already knew that I was coming out? That's why there are so many powerhouses squatting here. The immortal demon god was a little confused for a moment. When he could not see the situation clearly, the attacks of those human powerhouses had already arrived. The intertwining of the destructive forces made his heart tremble violently. He did not dare to hesitate at all. The immortal demon god immediately raised his attention to deal with them. Chapter 933. When the battle broke out, it naturally caused a huge commotion.
Soon.
The news of the evil demon's appearance spread like wildfire. Instantly, human race powerhouses appeared one after another. Many powerful auras intertwined together, causing the immortal Fien Celestial's expression to change. How is that possible? Weren't the human race extremely weak in the vast thousand domains?
Why?
Why were there so many powerhouses appearing? This was completely different from what he had expected. A little mouse has sneaked in. In the heavenly court, Qin Shujian had a faint smile on his face. The gods were all puzzled, not understanding what he meant. At this moment, the sky-reaching mirror hanging in front of the southern gate of heaven turned into a stream of light and instantly arrived at the inner hall of the heavenly palace. The sudden arrival of the sky-reaching mirror surprised the gods, but they soon returned to normal. Everyone, please take a look. With a thought, Qin Shujian saw an image appear in the sky-reaching mirror floating in the air. In the image, a fiend celestial was fighting with many human race powerhouses and was being beaten back.
However,
although the fiend celestial was being beaten back, all the immortals' expressions changed drastically. Demon. The demon of the demon abyss has appeared. Shi Yang's expression changed. How could he not know about the demon? For so many years, the demon of the East Continent had been wreaking havoc for a long time. Although the other immortals and gods had never seen the true appearance of the demon, their hatred for the demon abyss had long been engraved in the depths of their blood. As soon as they saw the demon, they immediately recognized the other party's identity. Instantly, An immortal god's expression darkened. Emperor of Heaven, the demon suddenly appeared. Could it be that the demon abyss is planning to attack in advance? I don't think so. Qin Shu Jian shook his head. If the demon abyss really wants to attack in advance, what can they do by sending a heavenly human realm fiend celestial? In my opinion, only this fiend celestial has broken out of the demon abyss. And so what if the demon abyss really attacks? The heavenly court today is no longer the heavenly court of 1,000,000 years ago. Hearing that, those immortals and gods who were a little flustered suddenly realized that the Emperor of Heaven in front of them had already broken the limit. Dao fruit. It was a realm that only existed in other epics and had never existed in this epic before. Although they didn't know how strong a Dao fruit was, it was still a Dao fruit. However, just by looking at Qin Shujian's confident expression, one could understand many things. Emperor Zhao nodded. Although the heavenly court was powerful 1,000,000 years ago, it's still far from the current heavenly court. The Emperor of Heaven even broke through his previous limits and advanced to the Dao fruit realm. No matter how strong the Devil Abyss is, there's no way it can contend against them. That may be the case, but the sudden arrival of a fiend celestial might spell trouble. Regarding Zhao Emperor's words, he was still worried about the existence of immortals and gods. In the hall, every expert had a different expression. Qin Shu Jian smiled faintly. If you want to know the origin of this demon god, why don't you just ask? After saying this, a large hand condensed in midair and sank into the heaven-reaching mirror. Kill. Demons wreak havoc in our human race. They deserve to die. Everyone, work harder. This demon won't be able to hold on for much longer. The human experts who besieged the demon were all agitated. Countless humans had died when demons wreaked havoc. As long as one was a normal person, they would kill demons as soon as possible. In the face of such an attack, the immortal fiend Celestial had no power to resist at all. He was beaten until he was on the verge of death. It's impossible. It's impossible. Until now, the immortal fiend Celestial still could not believe what was happening in front of him. He had never thought that he would be besieged by a group of people as soon as he came out of the great wide world. With so many experts, even if he was very strong, he did not have the ability to resist at all. The immortal fiend Celestial had a hunch. If he returned to the Devil Abyss this time to be resurrected, those ancient demon gods would not let him off. After all, it was easy to imagine what would happen to a demon god who did not listen to orders and barged into the great wide world. Originally, the immortal fiend Celestial had barged into the great wide world to avoid those ancient demon gods and to plunder the power of the great wide world first, so that he could advance to an ancient demon god. As long as he advanced, then, even if he encountered an ancient demon god later, he would not be afraid at all. However, dreams were beautiful, but reality was often cruel. At this moment, the immortal fiend Celestial was very regretful. He regretted his impulse. Even if he had to live in the Devil Abyss, it was better than coming to the great wide world to die. Just when he thought he was going to die, the void in front of him suddenly shattered, and a giant hand reached out from the void, causing time to freeze. There was no resistance at all. The immortal fiend Celestial was directly pinched by the giant hand and then pulled into the void. In less than half a breath, the shattered void healed as if nothing had happened, but the immortal fiend Celestial was nowhere to be seen. A human expert's expression turned ugly. Did you see who it was that attacked just now? He only saw the void collapse for a moment, and then a giant hand reached out and grabbed the demon away. The entire process. It was so fast that he did not have time to react. Hearing this, the others fell silent. No one could see clearly who was the one who made the move. However, the aura emanating from the gigantic hand caused their blood to freeze. It could be said that, if the other party's target had been them instead of the demon, they would have absolutely no resistance at all and would have been wiped out completely. This matter is unusual. Report back to the higher-ups immediately. The mysterious expert rescued the demon. Maybe the person behind it is the expert from the Devil Abyss. An old man had a solemn expression. As soon as the words devil abyss came out, it was like a mountain pressing down on everyone's heart.
Suddenly,
All the human experts immediately retreated. As soon as they left, the aura that had gathered together and was enough to distort the void gradually disappeared. The unstable space in the new area slowly stabilized.
soon,
The news of the demon's appearance and its rescue by a mysterious expert had completely spread. The demon's appearance and the mysterious expert's help. In the Qianyuan sacred ground, Qin Yuanbai's expression was a little strange and solemn.
to be honest,
He couldn't figure out what kind of expert would dare to secretly rescue a demon from the devil abyss right under the nose of the heavenly court, given the current strength of the heavenly court. But according to the information reported by his subordinates, this was indeed the case. It seems that I have to go to the heavenly court when I have time, Qin Yuanbai thought to himself. He knew that the heavenly court was in a meeting at the moment. However, he was only a deity position of the 3,000 divine generals. He was not qualified to enter the heavenly court at all. He had to meet the Emperor of Heaven. He could only postpone it. Chapter 934. However, Qin Yuanbai looked sideways at the high-spirited Feng Xinglan and felt a little depressed. As the sacred lord, he had only obtained the position of the 3,000 divine generals, but Feng Xinglan, as the deputy sacred lord, had obtained the position of the array ancestor. After all, the array ancestor's position was very high, almost as high as that of the four war gods. He was not qualified to enter the heavenly palace to discuss matters, but Feng Xinglan was. The more he thought about it, the more depressed Qin Yuanbai became. Of course, he also understood that Feng Xinglan obtaining the position of the array ancestor was a great thing for the Qianyuan sacred ground. However, Qin Yuanbai still felt a little uncomfortable. In particular, the faint smile on Feng Xinglan's face made him feel that Feng Xinglan might be laughing at him. Demons are a big deal. Should I go to the heavenly court and report it? I believe the heavenly court has also received the news. Qin Yuanbai replied angrily. Feng Xinglan looked dignified and shook his head in objection. The problem of demons can be big or small. I think it's better to report it in time. Although the heavenly court is discussing matters now, we can't care so much now. Qin Yuanbai closed his eyes and was too lazy to answer. Seeing this, Feng Xinglan smiled, not feeling bored at all.
he was just saying.
He had no intention of going to the heavenly court at all. As Qin Yuanbai said, if the Qianyuan sacred ground knew about the emergence of demons, then the heavenly court would definitely know about it. After all, the intelligence of the heavenly court was not comparable to anyone else. His smile faded a little. Feng Xinglan said seriously, now that I have obtained the position of the array ancestor, the human clan should prosper in the Tao of formations, so I think the sacred ground should open up a place that belongs solely to the Tao of formations. In that way, anyone in the world who has achieved something in the Tao of formations can come to the sacred ground to cultivate. In the long run, the Tao of formations of the human clan will inevitably prosper. Qin Yuanbai opened his eyes and looked at Feng Xinglan. It's not a problem to open up a Tao of formations holy land. As the array ancestor, you do have this qualification. The establishment of the Tao of formations holy land would definitely divide the power within the Qianyuan sacred ground. However, he had no way to refuse. The current Feng Xinglan was no longer someone who he could suppress. The two words array ancestor were enough to make the array Tao powerhouses of the myriad races submit. Furthermore, the other party's strength was also extraordinary. If they were to really fight, Qin Yuanbai had no confidence in being able to contend against him. This was the power of a deity position. Before he obtained the God Seal position, Feng Xinglan was not even a true immortal, while he himself had already corroborated his Tao for many years.
But now,
Once the other party became a god, his strength would increase greatly. Even if he had just broken through, he was still not someone an ordinary first heaven immortal could compare to. The amplification of the deity position. In particular, The amplification of a powerful deity position was enough to match hundreds and thousands of years of bitter cultivation. Therefore, Qin Yuanbai had no way to stop Feng Xinglan from establishing an array formation holy land in the Qianyuan sacred ground. It's great that the Holy Lord can support me. Feng Xinglan smiled. He knew what Qin Yuanbai was thinking, but the other party had no reason to object. Although the Qianyuan sacred ground was a sacred ground of the human race, it was also a combination of countless sections. Therefore, the various sects in the sacred ground were divided into various factions. When dealing with outsiders, the Qianyuan sacred ground was a whole. But when dealing with outsiders, the Qianyuan sacred ground was actually somewhat divided. Over the years, Feng Xinglan had been thinking of ways to revitalize his Heavenly Array sect. However, the Nine Palace sect was the dominant sect, and Yuanzong could not get rid of them, so there was no way for the Heavenly Array sect to develop. But now it was different. He had become the Array ancestor, and all the Array masters in the world would respect him. Then, it would not be a problem for the Heavenly Array sect to flourish. Heavenly Court. Qin Shujian condensed a big hand and submerged it into the heaven-reaching mirror. When he withdrew his hand, the immortal demon had already been caught in the main hall. The huge demon god was originally 1,000,000 feet tall, but now it was directly suppressed to the size of a normal person by a mysterious force. When the demon god appeared, all the immortals and gods' eyes fell on him. At that moment, the immortal demon god felt a terrible pressure on him, and the demon chi in his body almost collapsed. He was so scared that his legs were a little weak. Who am I? Where am I? What should I do now? The immortal demon god's mind was in a mess. In his sight, the aura emitted from every expert was not weaker than the ancient demon gods of the demon abyss.
No.
They were more powerful than many of the ancient demon gods of the demon abyss. No matter how hard he racked his brain, he could not figure out where he was and why there were so many experts. All of a sudden, the immortal demon god raised his head and looked in the direction of the emperor's throne. Ah! With just a glance, his head cracked open, and his whole body fell to the ground. Looking at the immortal demon god who fell to the ground, Qin Shujian smiled faintly and withdrew some of his aura. Immortal demon lord, we meet again. With one sentence, the immortal demon god who fell to the ground struggled to get up, and then carefully looked at the emperor's throne. He immediately recognized Qin Shujian's identity. "It's you," the immortal demon god exclaimed. He would never forget the ant who killed him in the ordinary realm and forced him to go back to the demon abyss to be reborn. Originally, the immortal demon god was ready. If he had the chance to return to the vast thousand domains in the future, he would definitely crush that ant into ashes. However, he had never imagined that the ant that he wanted to crush day and night would be sitting there high and mighty. Moreover, his strength had reached a level that could penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth. With just a glance, he had almost caused his body and Tao to dissipate. The immortal demon god was first angry, then frightened, and finally desperate. "How dare you not bow before the Emperor of Heaven?" Si Hanhai's face was cold, and with a wave of his hand, a gust of energy surged. The immortal demon god's bone armor cracked and shattered, and the soul fire in his head was almost extinguished. He was directly in a state of serious injury. Sky, Celestial Emperor. The immortal demon god knelt on the ground, his heart full of horror. Seeing Si Hanhai attack, Qin Shujian did not stop him. He waited until the immortal demon god was in a state of near death before he spoke. "Should I call you Immortal Demon Lord or Immortal Demon God? Emperor of Heaven, call me whatever you think you should call me." The situation was stronger than the demon, and the immortal demon god quickly admitted defeat. He finally understood that there was no one here that he could afford to offend. The person who attacked just now just waved his sleeve, and he almost had to go back to the demon abyss to report. That kind of strength, even among the ancient demon gods, he was considered one of the strongest. And such an expert was respectful to Qin Shujian, so one could imagine how terrifying Qin Shujian's strength was. In the eyes of the immortal demon god, The other party was very likely comparable to the three top ancient demon gods of the demon abyss: Eternal Life, Night Emperor, and Heavenly Saint. Chapter 935. In the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace. Surrounded by officials, the immortal demon knelt on the ground, not daring to move at all. Qin Shujian looked down at him and said, "I'm still used to calling you the immortal demon lord. How about this? If you answer some of my questions, I can consider letting you live. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die completely, and even the demon abyss won't be able to revive you." Qin Shujian's voice was calm, but to the immortal demon lord, it was full of coldness. He did not doubt the other party's words. After all, that ant was now the Emperor of Heaven. One had to know. Demons weren't truly immortal and indestructible. In the vast thousand domains, there was a way to really kill a demon. The undying demonic god himself knew that ancestral weapons were the nemesis of all evil spirits.
So,
in the face of Qin Shujian's threat, the immortal demon lord quickly admitted defeat. "Emperor of Heaven, if you have any questions, just ask. I'll tell you everything I know." "Very well." Seeing the other party's attitude, Qin Shujian nodded. "Heaven and earth have been born for a long time, and no demons have been born. Why did you come to the vast thousand domains this time? What's the purpose of the demon abyss?" "Emperor of Heaven, I came to the vast thousand domains because many ancient demon gods in the demon abyss have awakened. We demon gods are just food in the eyes of the ancient demon gods. In order to fight for a way to live, I came to the vast thousand domains without permission. But I can guarantee that I have absolutely no intention of harming the vast thousand domains. I hope the Emperor of Heaven can give me a way out and let me live." The immortal demon lord told him everything he knew, and in the end, he simply begged for mercy. "Ancient demon god?" Qin Shujian's expression did not change. "How strong are the ancient demon gods?" "The strength of the ancient demon gods is about the same as the true immortals of the vast thousand domains. Some powerful ancient demon gods are even comparable to the ancient Qin song." The immortal demon lord originally wanted to say the ancient Emperor of Heaven, but when he thought of the identity of the person in front of him, he could only say Qin Song's real name. After that, he didn't wait for Qin Shujian to ask another question. Not long ago, Eternal Life, Night Emperor, and Heaven Saint, the three ancient demon gods, awakened. They are the strongest among all the ancient demon gods in the demon abyss. They are no weaker than Qin Song, Eternal Life, Night Emperor, Sky Saint. Xiao Chengfeng sneered. "As expected, they didn't die. It's good that they've revived. When the time comes, I'll settle the score with them for 1,000,000 years." In his previous life, Vast Song Immortal Lord had perished in the Devil Abyss. The true culprits behind Hao Tsong's death were the half-step Dao fruit ancient demon gods. After hearing the immortal demon god's words, Xiao Qingfeng's murderous intent was triggered. At this moment, the immortal demon god tilted his head and looked in the direction of the sound. "Are you familiar with the three ancient demon gods?" he asked cautiously. The current Xiao Qingfeng was completely different from the Hao Tsong from 1,000,000 years ago. Even if the immortal demon god had seen Hao Tsong before, he would not be able to recognize him. Hearing this, Xiao Qingfeng smiled coldly. "Do you remember the ancient Hao Tsong?"
Hao Tsong.
The immortal demon god was shocked again. How could he not remember Hao Tsong's name? 1,000,000 years ago, he was the only expert who had killed his way into the Devil Abyss. Although he had died in the Devil Abyss, he had caused the Devil Abyss to suffer heavy losses. It was only when the top ancient demon gods attacked that Hao Tsong was killed. The immortal demon god was gone. The person in front of him was Hao Tsong from the ancient times.
Soon,
he figured out the key point: reincarnated and recultivated. The Eastern War god is very familiar with the three ancient demon gods mentioned by the immortal demon lord. Are they the half-step Dao fruit ancient demon gods from the Devil Abyss? Qin Shujian said calmly. Hearing this, Xiao Chengfeng cupped his hands. "Emperor of Heaven, Those three are the half-step Dao fruit ancient demon gods.
I see.
Qin Shu Jian understood. The Devil Abyss has 3 half-step Dao fruits. No wonder the ancient heavenly court was no match for them. Unfortunately, the ancient heavenly court is no longer the ancient heavenly court. Not to mention 3 half-step Dao fruits. Even if there are twice as many, they are just ants in my eyes. Emperor of Heaven, how can the Devil Abyss fight against you? Many immortals bowed. The immortal demon god, who was kneeling on the ground, could only tremble.
Then,
Qin Shujian's gaze fell on the immortal demon god again. So, you were just lucky to escape from the demonic abyss. Originally, I wanted to give you a way out, but unfortunately, you brought too little information. In that case, I will send you on your way.
after that,
He did not do anything, but the immortal demon god, who was kneeling on the ground, turned into green smoke and disappeared. After breaking through to the Dao fruit ancient demon god. Even if Qin Shujian did not use his ancestral armament or the red lotus of delusion, he would still be able to easily kill the evil demon. The undying and indestructible evil demons were not truly undying and indestructible. It was just that the demon had been tainted by something at the Dao fruit level, so it had a fake immortality. But this kind of immortality, in front of a real Dao fruit, it was a joke.
kill.
It was just a simple matter. Seeing the immortal demon god disappear, an immortal god cupped his hands. Emperor of Heaven, the demon is immortal. Once it dies, it will be reborn in the Devil Abyss. If we let it go now, will it reveal the heavenly court strength? Don't worry, it can't go back. Qin Shujian shook his head, as if he didn't care at all. When he saw the confusion on the immortals' faces, he patiently explained. The undying and indestructible fiends are not truly undying and indestructible. It's only because the Devil Abyss is formed from the body of the Dao fruit that the fiends are tainted with the aura of the Dao fruit that they possess this so-called undying and indestructible body. Now that I am at the Dao fruit level, it is naturally not a problem to kill a demon. After all, can a living Dao fruit be inferior to a dead one? At this point, the immortals were relieved. According to Qin Shujian, the demon's biggest problem was no longer a problem. Qin Shujian said, now that most of the ancient demonic gods in the demonic abyss have recovered, the strength of the heavenly court has also increased greatly. Destroying the demonic abyss is not a problem. Everyone, prepare for war. Your subjects obey. Court is dismissed. Qin Shujian waved his hand, and the immortals immediately bowed and retreated.
Soon.
Apart from him, there was no one else in the heavenly court's inner hall. Sitting on the throne, Qin Shujian suddenly felt a little bored. Because at this level, he didn't have any clue as to how to proceed further. He had done most of what needed to be done.
The rest.
He just had to wait for the right time. Speaking of which, Xia Yi should have finished touring the human race. With his talent, if nurtured well, it won't be a problem for him to become a half-step Dao fruit cultivator in the future. There is even a glimmer of hope for him to reach the Dao fruit level. If I let him stay in the human race, it would be a waste. With that thought in mind, Qin Shujian closed his eyes and covered the vast 1,000 realms with his divine sense, searching for Xia Yi's location. Chapter 936. A little knowledge is inferior to a great knowledge. A little year is inferior to a big year. In a private school, there was a middle-aged man in a green robe who looked like a Confucian scholar. He had a faint smile on his face as he spoke. Around him sat many students. The sound of reading. The sound had already passed through the private school and spread outside. It was noon. The middle-aged man in green robe said, "Today's class ends here. You all can go back." Yes. Everyone nodded, then packed their things and left. Only the middle-aged man in green robe sat there alone, watching the students leave one by one. The smile on his face never faded. At this moment, the void in front of him distorted. A person walked out and landed in front of him. Senior is living a carefree life now. Qin Shujian looked at the person in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect that Xia Yi, who said he wanted to travel to the human race to see the current situation of the human race, would stay here and be a teacher. It was hard to imagine. This ordinary-looking Confucian scholar was actually a true immortal-level expert. Xia Yi was a little surprised by Qin Shujian's appearance, but he didn't show too much strangeness. Hearing this, he also revealed a smile on his face. How many years has it been? I've never thought that the human race could really have such a peaceful scene today. At that time, the 10,000 races joined forces to force the human race and vowed to exterminate the human race. The human race born in that era had never experienced peace at all. From the moment they were born, they were surrounded by killing. Xia Yi's smile faded a little, and his eyes seemed to be reminiscing. I was born in a tribe, but not long after, the tribe was attacked by the 10,000 races. Almost all the humans died in the hands of the 10,000 races. Only I and a few others were lucky enough to escape. From then on, I hoped that the human race would not have any more wars. There were only two ways to make the human race not have any wars. Either destroy the 10,000 races or beat them into submission. Unfortunately, I didn't do it in the end. Now you have done it. When Xia Yi talked about these things, he wasn't angry or sad. More than 200,000 years. It could turn many things into memories. Hearing this, Qin Shujian could understand. When he was traveling against the river of time, he had seen what kind of situation the human race was in 200,000 years ago. The current peace of the human race is only on the surface. The storms have never stopped for even a moment. It's only because someone has blocked the storms that they haven't wreaked havoc here. Senior, your talent is very strong. You have hope of advancing to the Dao fruit realm in the future. Instead of wasting your time in the human world, why don't you follow me back to the heaven? Qin Shujian said calmly. Xia Yi's gaze landed on him as if he wanted to see something. The Qin Emperor is right. The so-called peace is just someone blocking the wind and rain. Now that the heavenly court has been established and all races have submitted to it, the Qin Emperor said that there is a storm. Could it be the demonic abyss that is about to arrive? The demonic abyss is nothing. I can destroy it with a wave of my hand. Destroy them with a wave of my hand. Xia Yi frowned. The devil abyss is extremely powerful. In the ancient times, it was able to destroy the heavenly court and bury the true immortals of the 10,000 races. Although the heavenly court is also extremely powerful now, it is too much to say that it can destroy the devil abyss with a wave of its hand. If the Qin Emperor lets his guard down against the demonic abyss, there will be trouble. In his opinion, although the heavenly court was very powerful now, it might not be comparable to the demonic abyss. If he had to compare, they were at most on par. Xia Yi's words were a bit arrogant. The strongest of the demonic abyss is only a half-step Dao fruit realm expert. Now that I have advanced to the Dao fruit realm, I can naturally destroy the demonic abyss with a wave of my hand. Qin Shujian was not annoyed by Xia Yi's doubts. Dao fruit? Xia Yi's eyes flickered. He thought of the worldly phenomenon that had lasted for a long time a few days ago. Although he had never heard of the Dao fruit before, he could guess some things from Qin Shujian's words. So the Dao fruit realm is above the true immortal realm. I was ignorant.
Xia Yi sighed.
After 200,000 years of silence, he found that he could not keep up with the times. The human race was developing very quickly now. Experts were emerging one after another. Compared to 200,000 years ago, it was a completely different world.
To put it bluntly,
if the human race's current strength was compared to 200,000 years ago, they would definitely be able to sweep through all races and re-establish the supreme might of the ancient era. Xia Yi said, since the demonic abyss is not a problem for the Qin Emperor, what hidden dangers are there that can threaten the human race? Some things are not as simple as they seem on the surface. I can't say much now. When the time is right, I will naturally tell you. Qin Shujian shook his head, not revealing too much. If everything is settled and you are willing to stay in the human race and live in seclusion, I will definitely not stop you. But now, I hope that you can enter the heavenly court and contribute to the human race. Given the current heavenly court, I'm afraid it does not lack a true immortal. The heavenly court does not lack a true immortal, but it does lack a true immortal who can become a Dao Fruit Realm expert in the future. If I refuse, will the Qin Emperor take action?
Xia Yi asked.
As soon as he finished speaking, the scene suddenly became silent. After a long while, Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. I will not take action. Whether you stay in the human race or follow me back to the heavenly court is your own matter. Others naturally cannot interfere. But I believe that a person who sacrificed himself for the human race 200,000 years ago will definitely not be afraid to fight. With that, Xia Yi laughed. Xia Yi laughed. Xia Yi is part of the human race. Naturally, I should do something for the human race. Fine. Emperor Qin has come personally. If I were to reject him, I would be ignorant. However, I do not wish to leave. I hope the Qin Emperor can give me a few days to make some arrangements. After all, I have stayed for a few years. It is impossible to say that I have no feelings for you. It is normal. I will wait for you in the heavenly court. Qin Shujian smiled. A token suddenly landed in front of Xia Yi. This is the token to the heavenly court. Senior, you can only enter the southern heavenly gate with it. As soon as he finished speaking, his body disappeared, as if he had never appeared. Unfathomable. Xia Yi spat out a few words in a grave tone. From beginning to end, he did not notice Qin Shujian's arrival and departure. Obviously, the other party's strength had reached a level that was far beyond his imagination. Dao Fruit Realm.
Xia Yi shook his head.
This was the first time he had heard of this realm. He had never seen a Dao Fruit Realm expert make a move. There was no way to understand how strong that realm was for the time being. His gaze landed on the token, and he reached out to grab it. The two sides of the token were as smooth as a painting. There were two large words engraved on it. Heavenly Court. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.